How are y'all doing? How are we doing today? Welcome in, Mirror. Let me know if everything's working, sounding okay. Anything's too loud or distracting. Close this door. It's background noise for me. Welcome in. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Good to hear, Pasta. Let me get some other stuff set up here while people are hopping in. I think those are just the fans of my computer, but I feel like something's playing in the background. Okay, well, welcome in, Viper. I don't know. I don't know what the real plan is for today. I mean, obviously, prep for the next Realm event and stuff, but I also just kind of want to talk through just some other big picture stuff. Because I feel like I'm kind of at another point where I'm thinking about stuff again and trying to figure out what direction to take SpireHelm in, and if, you know, we're one Realm event in now, so we have a good amount of understanding of what Realm events are like, but I'm still kind of running into, like, I'm looking forward, trying to think about where the project goes from here. And I don't know, there are some things that I'm like concerned won't work as well as I want them to without, you know, some amount of change or figuring out where we go from here. So I don't know, I kind of just want to talk about that some today as well and try to work through some stuffs. But yeah, how have you guys been? Anything fun happen recently? I think everything's working right. Painted minis today? Oh, nice. Warhammer? Or something else? That's super fun. Warhammer, nice. Very nice. Okay, so let's I don't know, when in doubt, make another canvas, right? Do this, because this was pretty good. Pretty nice to have. So, some things I've been thinking about. This is going to be really small, isn't it? Mostly working on drawings, done a few miscellaneous sketches. Oh, I've seen those. Those are cool. Got an artist to agree to draw a character from the upcoming event. That'd be sick. Realm events. We'll just throw this in here. This is going to be too small. Let's see here. Let's just, consistency is something I want to talk about, and direction. What else? What else needs to be covered? Sorry, I'm doing a lot of thinking here. I wish we could have like music playing in the background or something. Need to figure out how to do that without getting copyright striked. So, direction, I don't know, that might be a bad word. Let's do roadmap. Okay, so just thinking forward here. There are some things. Here's actually a big one. Collaboration. I'm kind of to this point again that happens every few months where I get stuck on what SpireHelm can do, where it can go, what it can be, that sort of thing. There's been some good conversations in the lore chat, in the Discord, talking about just general stuff. Like, we need some amount of consistency, obviously. Um, we probably need a roadmap. We need some deadlines, um, something to keep things kind of on track. I think that's kind of more there. And I've been thinking a lot about this as well, just recently in general, kind of before the Realm events started back up, through the last Realm event, and obviously now, and doing other stuff. Let's do content. So the thing I keep getting hung up on is collaboration, and which is really hard because this is, in my opinion, one of the most important, like one of the top three most important things to SpireHelm is the collaboration aspect of things. And so I worry that without this feeling good, SpireHelm won't be as good as it could be, or, you know, I don't really know. I think it would lose some character without a good amount of collaboration, which is also why I went back to this a little bit. Um, anyways, so collaboration is a big one that I've been stuck up on, mostly because of the direction. Direction's a hard word. I think direction is probably the best, or roadmap. The way I want things, or that I think it's not even what I necessarily want. There are some things that I want. There are some things that the community probably wants. And the community is a hard word because every single person from the community is going to want something different. So it's not very precise to say the community wants this thing. But there are some things that people in the community would want, or sections of the community. And then I think there are some things that are best. So I could say, let's see, what I want, what people want, and what would be best. And I think that's where this comes into play. So these things are not necessarily in opposition, but I think they are three different things. And I think all of us ideally want what would be best. I think I want what's best for the project. You guys want what's best for the project. I don't think there's anybody who wants something that's worse for the project. But we may disagree on what is best for the project. I think that's, bound to happen. Some people will think that one thing is better and one thing versus another thing is better. And that's a hard, that's a, what do we call that? A roadblock, an obstacle, something, a challenge, probably more a challenge than anything. And I think this is where it gets confusing because I think people want collaboration. I want collaboration, but I think there's a big, whoops, question mark here of how do we get the collaboration to act in a way that is what's best for the project. And that's where I'm getting stuck up because I'm looking forward, roadmap, and like I'm looking to where the project will go from here. I think one of the things we talked about, um, we are a monolith and we all believe the same thing. Yeah, exactly. Um, and that's one of the benefits we have right now is that we have a very few number of people who are passionate about this project, which has its drawbacks, but it also has its pros. One of the pros is it's really easy to come to a consensus because there are only 10 to 20 people who really have strong opinions about the project and where it goes and whatnot. And that's you guys who are pretty much here and on the Discord and whatever. If you're watching this after the fact, you're also probably included in this. Um, so yeah, that being said, there are also some drawbacks, which is like we said, some of the scheduling stuff is hard to do because we don't have enough people to fill. If we make a realm event too big or too fast, we won't have enough people to do things. But if we make it too slow, we may, like, we don't, I don't remember, I think it was it Mir or Char? Um, Might have been Pasta who mentioned it in this channel. Something about the pacing. I don't remember exactly what the wording was, but to some degree, something like that. So it's hard. But I'm looking forward, and I'm thinking, where does SpireHelm go? And ideally, what all of us want, and what we want, what I want, I think what we all want is more Spire folk. More people that care about the project, more people to, to participate, more people to have fun, more ideas, more generation, whatever. But the problem is, the more people we have, the harder I feel like collaboration gets, and that's where this comes in. We're getting a lot of arrows really fast. So here's what I've been stuck up on for the last, few weeks to a month or whatever. I'm looking forward and I'm saying, okay, what needs to happen with SpireHelm? Because right now we have, I don't know where to put it. Let's say identity. SpireHelm's identity. Right now, this is like a big nothing burger, a little bit. There's not enough, I feel like, to say what SpireHelm is or isn't. It is just kind of concepts of an idea, for lack of a better way to put it. There are ideas and vibes, things, but there's no real character to the project. Which sadly, not sadly, we need a story. Because story is what people care about. Story implies an amount of characters, tension, drama, and lore that is immediately immediately prevalent. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. It impacts the, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, story is what we need. And this is hard because that's story, and this is so hard to like articulate. Writing in general is not inherently collaborative. And that's, I think, where I'm getting hung up on. So, I don't know where to put this. This is getting big really fast, like it always does. Direction meaning, I don't know exactly what I'm meaning by direction. We'll get back to that. So, because one of the things I think, okay, wow, this is just gonna be tangent central. I see a lot of people doing world building projects on YouTube. There are some that inspired me to do this in the first place. There are some that, like SCP, that I was like, that's really cool. And then there are just some general IPs and world building that I love. Elden Ring, Lord of the Rings, Warhammer, those are probably my biggest three inspirations. And I look at those and I go, these are so cool. And they inspire you. They go, I want to make something like that. And then I look at SCP and other world building projects, or just the other ones on YouTube and TikTok and things where people are just designing their worlds and their lore. They're coming up with world building and lore. And I go, okay, that's cool, but why should I care? And a lot of times there's not really a clear answer. And if you ask yourself, why do I care about Lord of the Rings? Why do I care about Warhammer? Why do I care about Elden Ring? Because there's an inherent story. And that's why it unfortunately keeps coming back to this. We need a story. We need a reason for people to care about the lore that we're making. Otherwise, it's just lore for no reason. And some people might care. but not a lot of people will care. Some people might follow along, but they won't be emotionally connected to your decisions. There's a few channels, I won't name any of them, I don't even know any of them by explicit name other than a couple on YouTube that I've seen, and they're kind of like designing these world building things. Some of them are making a comic or they're making a book or something. But it all kind of goes to like, I don't need to be part of that process yet. I mean, it's cool. There are some cool things to it. Some people like just watching people design stuff, which is really, really cool, and I enjoy that. But I don't want to turn into the project that just designs things and it comes up with lore without any reason to. And that's where it's hard, because I want the lore to serve the story. Lore serves the story. Which I think is kind of why we've broken down what's the most important stuff, what do we, the compendium is supposed to be the bare bones. But I'm looking forward into the future. I'm saying, okay, what happens if another one of my TikToks doesn't go nuclear? I don't think any of them will ever get that big ever again. But what happens if it gets half that big and we get another 200 people in the Discord that are active instead of the current, 10 to 20? Then we're timesing by 10 the amount of people interested in the project and interested in collaboration and interested in contributing. And that's where I'm like, okay, well, what does that look like? One of the things we talked about is, well, let's call this direction. So we have Cam, me. We'll just put in so I'm the director of the project. It's my thing. I'm the one making the videos, the content, whatever. It's my idea. And people might dislike the fact that I have more of a say over the project than the community at large. But unfortunately, I think it's just one of those things where you need some amount of people in charge. And this is where we've talked a little bit about this in the Discord. And my intentions was to actually start the project this way. What does other help look like? We originally, the Arch Chroniclers were supposed to be the sort of like, these are the people that know the project inside and out and understand the direction that it's going. They understand what makes good ideas and bad ideas. They're not just there to necessarily just say, hey, every idea is a good idea. And I've seen a lot of you guys taking this role. All of you guys in here are basically acting like this right now, which is when somebody has an idea and they're like, this would be super, super awesome, and I just had this idea. A lot of you guys have been nice and been like, this is a really cool idea, but this isn't really what we're doing right now because it just complicates things or whatever. It's not the place for this. And that's super helpful. And what I want is for the community at large to know this and everybody to kind of do that. But that's kind of all these people have been doing so far. We've talked a little bit about, could these Arch Chroniclers and the Collector Scriptura and whatever, could they also help in other ways? The roadmap going forward, you guys were talking about consistency. What are the deadlines? What if we had a schedule of one realm event every 2 months or one realm event a month or whatever? And could people help me with this? A couple things about this. Say I have 2 or 3 Arch Chroniclers that are on the, I don't know what to call it, in, whatever, some council. And they help me in some way, whether it's drafting up documents for the realm events or, figuring out the formatting and whatever, making the submission forms, whatever it is, or getting the website ready or whatever. Currently, if I had like 3 people like that help me, then that's like a third of the people that do submissions. So then you're running into, is it okay that the people who are making and helping make the realm events are also the ones submitting for it, and are then also the people who are the, like, statistically the most likely to have their stuff canonized? Because if we're choosing these based on your understanding of the project, your passion, your work, being aligned with what makes the project, like what makes SpireHelm, then chances are this is going to come down to the people who have already had their stuff canonized or have a really good grasp on what the world will look like or should look like, which is all super arbitrary, by the way, which is another big problem. SpireHelm identity. That's the thing. We have nothing to gauge this on, which is, we'll kind of get to that in a minute. And so then I'm like, I don't want people to feel like, well, I'm competing against the arch chroniclers for stuff. And I'm fine not participating in realm events because I have enough to do. But I don't know, but then if this is a third of the people, then that kind of sucks. Yeah, let me catch up on chat a little bit. That's just some things to think about. Question is, are we going for a larger overarching story or an individual story that interlink and pertain to the realm? That's a good question. Will we ever think about making a short story? Yes or no? Or no, so you. I just had an idea of filling in parts of the story that need lore by creating a Mad Lib kind of prompt. I believe if we're looking for an overarching story, Sanctuary arcs might be the best bet at the moment. Yeah. Tragedy of the Fallen Brethren, Divine Purpose, Struggle, Nightly Battle, and Opportunity for arcs. Yeah, there's a lot written in the Master Lore doc. Yeah. So as far as story goes, I think I've mentioned this a couple times. SpireHelm originally started, the original idea was for, well, we'll make another one over here. What does, I think we already went over this a while ago when I kind of came back to the project after the long hiatus, which I think is, let's check. It should be compass. No. No. This one. This mess of a behemoth. One of the things we talked about is, what does collaboration look like? We have active participation versus passive. Active is more world building, and passive is more helping direct the narrative. This Wanderer section, which has no better name currently, but should probably be named something else, was the original idea for SpireHelm, period. It was going to be a short story, like a comic kind of series that would happen in episodes on TikTok, and the community would be able to decide where the story goes in like a choose your own adventure kind of way, like an interactive D&D kind of, like, I would draw the stuff, I would narrate it or do whatever, produce this thing. I wish it could be an animation. It would be awesome in a little animated series, but that is a ton of work, and I don't know if everything else is happening in SpireHelm, I don't have that kind of time, especially with school. And I'm not going into animation, but I do know how to animate very, very little. So that was kind of the idea, was like, you guys would be, the community would collaborate in the way they would help direct the story, and they would care about it, and they would discuss in the Discord or in the comment section or on Reddit or wherever. They would talk about, guys, if we tell, like, the top comment would decide what the character does. And you have like 3 different stories going on at once. You'd have a Sancti arc, you'd have a collector group, or you'd have something else. And they would all kind of be woven in together or whatever, but they might be kind of disconnected at certain parts. And people would be able to talk about, okay, if we have him go into this dungeon, he could die, or something bad could happen. If he, if he goes this way, he goes north, then we might be able to get this artifact first because we know there's something there based on our other story. We're like metagaming here, but we're using bits and pieces of lore, and it's something you care about, and that's cool, I think. The idea of that, I haven't seen done anywhere, and probably for good reason. Probably means it's way too hard to do, but that's kind of what I wanted SpireHelm to be. And then I realized I don't have the capacity to do that, probably at all, let alone like full time. And so then I was like, you know what? Let's just build the fantasy world first and see what happens. And that worked for a little bit. It was very, very slow, and then it just blew up. And so then we've kind of, completely changed courses to the Grand Archive, writing lore, realm events, which are great. And I liked the last realm event, and I think it works pretty well. Whoops. No. Oh. Well, that was not it. Oh. Whoa. Yeah, no, let's do this again. So anyways, so that's the background. That's what I thought the short stories would look like. And the further we get, the more I'm like, man, that seems really cool again. And I really want to explore that and see what that would look like. Would that take having a professional writer on the team? Maybe. But then do you pay them? How does that work? Because the other thing is, SpireHelm is generating next to no money, which isn't like, I'm not begging you guys to help. I'm just part of the growth. The more Spire folk equals more capability. Money is a tool. The more people that join, the more I can reinvest the money into the project, which means a better website, uh, you know, if I wanted to hire a writer or artists or animators or whatever, which would be very expensive and probably take a long time, then we could do more. If we wanted to print books, that is part of it. You have to have an upfront investment. You got to do a bunch of stuff. PDFs are free. Books cost money. And well-formatted books also cost money if it's not just me doing the formatting, which I'm happy to do, but it won't be as professional as, you know, an editorial team with graphic designers and whatnot. So that's part of it. And so that's why I'm like, what I want, and I think what people want, is more people, because more people equals more capability. But I don't want to get slowed down, and I feel like sometimes we're putting the cart up in front of the horse. Like we're jumping into these things that we wouldn't be able to do normally if until we had a bigger following, a bigger, you know, community, whatever. How much information do we need about the world to write a story? That's the thing. None, really. Part of it is like you don't need anything. The more the better in some ways. But you don't have to preface any of the story with anything. And part of the vibes of dark fantasy, in my opinion, is the mystery. It's the not knowing everything about the magic system. It's not knowing everything about the realm. It's not knowing everything about anything, really. And you're along for the adventure, and part of it is the discovery. You think about Elden Ring, you're thrown in, you get a little preface, but you're playing this game as like a flea on this behemoth of a monster. And you grow with the story, and you pick up little bits and pieces, and only when you look backwards do you see how they all connect. And I think that's beautiful. And Warhammer and Lord of the Rings are a little bit different. Warhammer there is no like primary storyline. You enter Warhammer from any possible angle. For me, it was through my math teacher's gaming club, and I liked board games, and so that's how I got in. Some people get into it from the reading. Some people get into it from the video games. Some people get into it from the painting, the craft side. And so, I don't know. But I think you don't need as much stuff as we think we do, lore-wise, to answer your question, Viper. And yeah, that's what I'm asking. It's like, where do we even go for collaboration? What does that even look like? Anyways, so that's where we got to the compendium. That was the idea. I was like, okay, let's put, where are we at? Essential lore. What if we turned the most essential stuff into a book or a PDF, whatever, and it would just have the most essential stuff so that we don't have to create everything. We just do the essential stuff, and then we can jump in. And I originally thought about doing that whole compendium myself and saying, hey guys, we're pausing the project. I got to do all this by myself, and then once it's done, then we can go back to collaborating. But then that kind of takes out, well, why are people here? What's the point of SpireHelm? And part of it is obviously retro dark fantasy. We're here for the vibes, we're here for the content, we're here for the collaboration. And if collaboration isn't a part of it, then why should people care? Until there's a story, and that's the content. Content part could be a story, could be lore, could be, you know, books, booklets, whatever. So yeah, that's, and then that's why I was like, okay, let's do the realm events for the compendium, and then we'll get it built slowly. But that could take, like you guys were saying, we don't have years to do the intro. If the compendium is really just the foundational lore, then we don't want to be spending years on it. So yeah, that's hard. What are your thoughts on other people semi-running the show if you're busy with stuff like school, society being put out, just a small group of people that would help keep the events and the server running smoothly? That's what I was thinking here is like, would the Arch Chroniclers help with schedule? Would they help with, you know, like, because I do agree that there is a little bit too much for me to do smoothly. I can do it all, but it's choppy. We can see that. And I think I'm not trying to rush it too much right now because I'd rather be on good footing and then launch forward than to dive in head first and have to backpedal, which I feel like we've been doing constantly because stuff just doesn't work as well as I want it to, or I think it will. So yeah, but then that's my question is, if the Arch Chroniclers are helping with the schedule, then do they also get to help with collaboration, or does that feel like ulterior motives? Like, if they're the ones who are writing and judging and helping create the next realm event, then will other people get frustrated? And that's what I'm like, where does this collaboration go? Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. But like, what does this turn into if if the quote unquote the best people, say you guys, are the ones who are here the longest and understand the project the best because you've been on all the streams, you've been part of the community for the events, you've been in the Discord, whatever. Then we get a bunch of new people who have no idea what's going on, kind of. They have a small idea, and then they try to jump in and do stuff. But there's now 200 submissions, but the same 10 submissions are being chosen, or 10 submitters are being chosen for everything because they make the best content because they understand the project the best. And that's where I get to this point of like, writing is not inherently collaborative, and it feels even less openly collaborative, which sucks because I feel like that's what makes SpireHelm SpireHelm, and that's why people care currently. The reason people care right now is not because we have a good story or some really awesome like visual identity or vibes or whatever, because we haven't established any of that because I've been so busy doing the administrative stuff that I haven't had a chance to explore the art and the vibes or whatever. And so what they don't care about is the story. What they do care about is the collaboration, because their work gets seen, gets appreciated, and potentially has a lasting impact on the story. So that's what people care about. And if people come in and there's still just a small group of people who either don't get to participate because they're too good at it, or are participating but all their stuff gets chosen because they're too good at it, then what do the new people do? Where is their place? Is it just to ride along? So those are my thoughts on that. To be fair, I don't think there should be a thing where the event overlookers, moderators should not be allowed to write for any realm event. Judge help others. That's conflict of interest waiting. I do think there should be a thing. Yeah, exactly. And so then the question is, who would want to voluntarily, and I'm not saying like this is an open invitation, but if I wouldn't want to like promote someone, for better lack of a term, to Arch Chronicler because they understand the vibes, they understand SpireHelm, they understand whatever, and then for them to no longer be able to do what they got into the project to do in the first place. And I know some people might take it as an honor, but other people might be like, no, I want to keep making stuff. And that's the other part of collaboration is when we get more Spire folk, what does collaboration look like? Like we've talked a little bit about, the realm events right now are working pretty okay. We're trying not to do ties, but we have one winner, and then we allow people to openly collaborate a little bit after the fact with this last one, with the people that submitted, that we had maximum 3 submissions per thing. What happens when we get 200 submissions in, say, 5 groups? Now you're looking at like 50. Wait, that's not the math. Why am I having such a hard time? Wait, 20. Wait, there's 200 people submitting. 20, yeah, it's 40 submissions per entry. And then we talked about, okay, well, what would they do? Would they help schedule? They could help read through submissions, which would be great. I don't know what else, but like if they're the ones reading through submissions, that's 40 submissions, and they have to choose the best ones. That like where does I don't know if you guys see where I'm getting stuck on. Like, where does this go? And that's what I'm saying. What would actually be best for the project? Because I think we all love the idea of the realm events that we've had, which is, collaboration, putting something cool together, submitting it. But then what happens when we get 200 more people submitting because they all want to be a part of it? And that's really hard. Would voting be a good path forward? You make something for the parts and you like to be filled in, you can create a poll. You would create the poll so you know what fits SpireHelm best, if that's what we want, a better outline. Chroniclers don't have to not write anymore. It would be a voluntarily thing. If there's, say, 20 Arch Chroniclers, then each event, some of them could write while there's judge. You could even have a thing where some Arch Chroniclers, for lack of a better word, benched until they volunteer to oversee an event and judge it. Yeah, that could also work. Yeah, voting is one thing. The hardest thing with voting, and that's the other thing too, is parsing through 40 submissions for a single work is hard for me. It'd be difficult for a team, but easier if we had to say, okay, you're in charge of, for example, you're in charge of the Maw, you're in charge of the river, you're in charge of the bay submissions. Let me know which ones are best. But that's a lot of trust coming out of me to a group of people who I'm hoping have the best view of the project so far. And no offense to you guys, because it's not your fault, but I don't think anybody understands the project as well as I do yet, because we don't have, this doesn't exist yet. It's all concepts of ideas in my brain that haven't made it out yet because we're busy doing the other stuff. And so we would need SpireHelm to have a really clear identity and have some people that are willing to stick with it and put that over other cool ideas, even if they are cooler or better made. If they're not once like conducive, if they're not what would be best for the project, then you have to be willing to not be mean, but be willing to say no to some things. But then if we open it up to the entire community and say just vote on your favorite one, then you run into the risk of people won't read through 40 submissions. No single person is going to. So they're going to read through 5, pick their favorite one out of those 5, and not read the other 35. And then you'll get people who are disappointed their stuff didn't get picked, and we might even end up with something that's not that great because nobody read the 40th submission. They only read the first 5 or first 4 or first 1, and they just voted yes on that one. And so if we have it be the entire community of, say, 30,000 TikTok followers, if they all get to vote on every single submission, then I no offense to the TikTok viewers, but I cannot trust them to know what's best for the project. And so if we're opening it up to every single person, you guys who have a really good understanding of what the project is and where it's going, and also the people who are in here once every 6 months, and they say, oh, there's a new realm event, I want to vote on where stuff goes, I want to participate, and so they jump in, they make their thing, and they self-vote. I don't think we can trust that. And in a pure democratic voting system, if everybody's vote counts equal, then you guys who are in here and who are in the Discord often, you've 20 people or so, your vote counts just as heavily as the other, 30,000 people that have a little bit of interest in this project. And that's where I'm like, this is, I don't know where this, somewhere between more Spirefolk and the collaboration, I have a hard time believing that it goes to what would really be best for the project as a whole without some big amount of like jumping through hoops and overriding, the community in a way. And which is why I think a lot of projects don't try to do something like this, because it's much easier for me to just say, I'm working on this thing, and I go out and I look for freelancers and people who can help me, and I say, your job is to do what I want, and I build a world, and I hire, I outsource some of the project to other people, and when it's done, and then people just get to enjoy it like other IPs, which is, Lord of the Rings, it's the Cosmere, it's Warhammer, it's whatever. And then if it gets big enough, it gets enough traction, you can build a bigger team. You can say, you're the people for Warhammer Orcs, and you're the people for Horus Heresy, and you're the whatever, and you can hire people to do stuff. But man, that's just, but we don't have the money, we don't have the capacity, and if we're going to do collaboration, man, I'm trying to find a way where it works well. So I think when we're at a point where we need to subsidize decision making to the Arch Chroniclers, and we'll have enough Arch Chroniclers and have multiple read the same documents and peer review each other's choices. Yeah, we need a vanguard party who's more educated about the lore than the common masses. It's going from the angle of what would be voting on what you make. Oh, so like I make stuff and everyone gets to vote on which sides. Because that's the other thing too, is like these streams have kind of been, in a way they're collaborative, but in a way they're not, because some people can't be here every single stream. A lot of times I stream, at this time during the weekdays, not on the weekends as much. And for some people, they can't be here, and so they would miss out on the collaboration, which is a little bit unfair, but it is very easy to jump ideas back and forth. It's easy for me to hear an idea and immediately go yes or no, and we either run with it for a little bit and we get more feedback, or we say no. Whereas like a realm event, it's here's my ideas, and then you guys all get to do stuff. And so far it's worked great, but I do worry about what happens when we get more people in here. And I also don't want people to come in hoping their stuff will be chosen for a realm event just to find out that there's 6,000 other people who just joined and they're competing against 200 other submissions and their stuff doesn't even get touched, and then they leave the project forever because they're disappointed. And I don't think that would be a one-off thing. I think that would happen a lot if we have the exact same format that we currently have. I think a lot of people would be disappointed, because currently nobody had to be super disappointed because most people submitted for either 2 or more of the submission types, and or they got some of their ideas to be kind of grafted in, Frankensteined into other people's stuff. But that's impossible with 200 submissions. It's impossible with 10 submissions. It's impossible with anything more than probably 2 or 3. 4 would be pushing it. And I know if SpireHelm grows at all, we've had like steady growth. We're getting like 1 or 2 people a day is kind of the average of people that are joining the Discord, which is fine. I'm not disappointed. I don't have any goal or anything like that. But that's just what it is. There's a funnel. It's the TikTok is where people find the project, and then some people make it to the YouTube, maybe to the Discord, then they chat in the Discord, and then they're invested in the project and they're talking with the community. And in a lot of the communities I'm a part of outside of SpireHelm, I'm a lurker and I don't say much. I don't talk. I just follow along. I see what people are talking about. I consider, and there's probably people watching this right now, or people that will watch this in the future, and people in the Discord all the time that are kind of watching where things are going and just don't have any reason to talk. And so I think there'd be a lot more disappointment, and I think more people would be frustrated with the project as a whole than would be happy with it. And that's where I'm like, what do we do? What do we do about this? Is the ultimate mystery. I have no idea what that turns into. Jokes aside, I do believe that voting is not a good road to take the project. Yeah, like open voting is just really hard. I think it would work for the story, like the choose your own adventure. I think that would be perfect because I get to take your choices, which are open-ended. I don't think most of them would be an A, B, C, or D. I think it would be, what do you do? It's like a D&D, like, what do you do? So it'd be a different type of choose your own adventure. It'd be, you literally could choose. And somebody could throw some random comment in a TikTok comment section and be like, he stabs himself and he kills himself and then he bleeds everywhere and dies. And everybody just votes it because it's funny. And maybe that's okay. And maybe it's not, I don't know. But at a minimum, people would be invested in the story. And I think if people vote and they vote bad, that's fine. But I think, yeah, for the project as a whole, the direction that it's going in, the core things that make SpireHelm, the core foundational lore, I don't think open voting with, the 1,000 people we have in the Discord and the tens of thousands we have on TikTok, that's not a good idea. I can't see that going well. Yeah, voting would be super complicated. Yeah, having voting for submissions, not the best idea. There need to be limited slots for submissions, so it's fair. 20 people max, then we have to wait to collaborate again. It can be tough to make a decision like that. Yeah, it helped getting too big. I think this is a lot of foresight and just in casing they blow up and get enough people into the project in the time that we continue to do the realm events. Yeah, narrative first approach, I agree, Moth. In a lot of circumstances, we will not get that big in this amount of time. Yeah, it won't be fast, but any amount of consistency on TikTok or YouTube will see growth. Like that's the only thing that really matters is, are you being consistent? And which I haven't been. I've been putting out some ideas. I have some ideas for things I want to do. But I think if there was an amount of consistency, and obviously high production quality does better, a better presentation does better. You can't just, put out anything. Yeah, would we be done with all the realm events by that time? Or do we just put all of TikTok on pause in a way? Like, do I not do anything other than just YouTube streams until the realm events are done, and then we switch gears? Because the people that are here often are the ones who obviously are more interested in collaborating. And so yeah, I think one solution to this, I'll make a little solutions box. This is potential solutions. You could have pause outreach until compendium is done. So that's one option. And I'm not opposed to this. The only thing I see here is, whoops, that didn't work. Whoops, you guys can't see this, can you? What happens after the compendium is finished? Like, then what happens? Then does the project become something else? If we do all the collaboration right now with you guys who are awesome and are here and are passionate and whatever, you have a huge edge in getting your stuff canonized, whatever. we've had good, good ideas here for a lot of stuff. And then once it's finished, what happens? Then it goes out to the community. Then we transition to the choose your own adventure style. Like, is that, I don't know, series? I don't know. We'll just wanderer type content. So yeah, that's a question. Let me catch up on chat. Probably, I mean, how many relevance are we doing? Maybe 10 max. We don't want too much in the compendium. Yeah, that's the other thing too. We want the compendium to be small, but extensive enough to give people an idea of what SpireHelm is. Really, the whole point of the compendium is this. SpireHelm needs an identity. So we know when a story fits, when an idea fits, it's because SpireHelm has a really solid identity. And so this is one that I still like the idea of. There are some drawbacks to this. So imagine a world or a SpireHelm community where you can still do any of the stuff that we currently are allowing you to do, which is like, create your own records. Say, okay, I'm going to tell a story about Enigma specs. I'm going to come up with Enigma specs. I'm going to come up with a character. I'm going to come up with their background, where they live, their story, whatever. And I'm just going to submit that to the website, the archive, the wherever it is. And the problem with this is people might not look at it. People might not read it all the way because it might be really big. It might be small. People might not vibe with the style of content. And so you might feel a little bit disappointed. But maybe I read through some of them, or the best upvoted ones I look at because people seem to like them in the community. Even if I'm busy with other stuff, I can still check in on some of the submissions. And maybe in this, we'll call it headliner series, which is the official SpireHelm series of sorts, maybe I integrate some of these ideas and characters. They could be NPCs, they could be Ignis specs that are tied to your story, and then we also have the main character come in and interact with the same Ignis specs. We could have things like, families, you could have them bump into each other, they could pick up where one person left off. If they died somewhere, they could, whatever. I think that would be really cool. I think this is a fine way to do it, but that's not as collaborative, but it is probably more sustainable, I think, even with hundreds of more people. If we're getting hundreds of these community records and people are just reading them for fun, that's great. I think that's working as designed, as intended. And if I get to tie some of that in, then you have a chance and you have some incentive. If the incentive is to get your stuff canonized, which it seems like a lot of people originally wanted that to be their goal, then there's a chance that if you write something really good and the community likes it, that it will be incorporated somehow into the main story at some point. Even if it's not immediately, there's a chance, I think that's cool. It keeps people on the story. The story can inspire people to write their own stories. People might even try to predict where the story is going to go, and so they write their own records to try to get it to interact with the main headliner series, which I think is totally fine. Just don't be too disappointed if it doesn't, obviously. There's no guarantee. I think that's the hard part, is there's never any guarantee with collaboration. There's just, how do you spell guarantee? I always get it wrong. Guarantee? No, that's wrong. No, I always guarantee. Yeah, there's no guarantee of your stuff getting canonized, anything like that. And so that's the hard part. But I'm not opposed to this style of thing. I just know this isn't what was originally pitched, which is also what I feel bad about. I feel bad trying to switch gears every couple months and say, like, no, it's not this anymore, it's now this. And I don't want to, like, bait and switch people into thinking, yeah, you get to write the biggest parts of lore for this world, which I feel like we've already kind of moved away from. It's going to be, if you want to, it's going to be through the realm events, which I think is the most sustainable way to do that. I think doing anything else is probably foolish. But I don't want to say, yeah, well, currently we're doing realm events and we're doing all this stuff, and then when they get involved in that, it's like the last realm event, and then we switch entirely to, okay, there's no more like big canonization stuff. We're kind of done with that. Or the realm events are going to be like a once every 6 months kind of thing, twice a year or whatever it is. I don't know. That's some ideas. Um, yeah, how many do we need until we have the compendium? Well, let's go over that in a second. What are we doing now? What we are doing now is more world first. We need to decide what the end product is, a world or narrative, TTRPG or a book first. In terms of what's after the compendium, will it not be a variety of things? People can then be free to make their own, write their own stories. Yeah, that's the idea. Where are we? Content. Realm events. So yeah, we'll go roadmap to realm events here. Yeah, other lore books focused on more things. Yeah, I think that'd be cool, and I think that's probably what's best in some ways. Um, so we need the dark forces. Somebody made a list in here that was pretty good. I think was pretty much perfect. This was Pasta's list. The dark forces, sanctiarchs, figures of import, lords and rulers, regions in the realm, beasts, Bale, other worldlenders, lost, Valen, hold, and the dead sanctiarch. And that's a pretty good list. I'm just trying to think of other stuff because this is already a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If we're doing it two a month or every 2 months, then we're talking about 20 months. That's like 2 years. That's a lot. That's a long time to get things started. Which is, I think, why most people that build their own worlds do all of it behind the scenes before they launch they do it as they're writing the book. They do it as they're directing or as they're writing the screenplay or whatever it is. And it all happens in the background. It's not the thing that the community is interacting with. I think that's the biggest difference is well, a lot of card here for community interaction. Every community is different. Every community does different things, and the community, the people of the community, interact differently with it. In Warhammer, you're either interacting with the painting, the game, the books, the video games, whatever. With Star Wars, you're interacting with the content and some of the games and maybe other stuff. You're interacting mostly with the movies and shows. With Lord of the Rings, you're interacting with the books or the movies, maybe some games, some other offshoot stuff. Independent, you interact with maybe sword making or armor making, whatever it is. There are tons of things. There's no limit to the amount of things that you can do to interact with a community. The thing that most, if not all communities, other than some collaborative writing projects, do differently, is that this is not part of it. Collaboration in the actual writing of things, making big decisions, design, so to speak, is not something that is a prominent community interaction. This is limited to usually a group of less than 20 people split into different teams, all under a group of directors who is under the CEO of the company, usually. So that's a very different thing for this, which is why I'm getting so stuck up on, well, what does this even look like? Because, like, I don't know. So, that being said, from what I'm hearing, you really want the community written story. The races of SpireHelm would not be the most important thing to it. I don't know, but I think we kind of need the races in a way. Because otherwise, who are the characters? Like, that's the hard thing. Is like, we need all the things that the compendium is trying to do are things that you kind of need to write a story. Because you have to decide who the races are going to be. And I think thinking about that, at least generally, you can make some exceptions later on and be like, okay, we're actually adding 2 more races because the story demands it. Which is what a lot of authors do in their books. They just come up with something new because the story demanded it and they wanted something new, and there's nothing wrong with it. And you as a viewer watching or reading or whatever, you don't know that was never planned all along. If you've ever been a dungeon master, then you understand this. You just BS the story until it works because it demands it. And your party is like, oh my gosh, that was the twist all along. And you're like, yeah, totally. But it never was. You just came up with it on the spot because it's what the story demanded and what the story needed and what would be best for the story, even if it wasn't planned all along. Which is, once again, the difficulty of this enigma here is like, how do we pull that off? So yeah, I think things like knowing who the Sanctiarchs are, knowing who the lords and rulers are, knowing what the regions are, knowing Beast and Bale, we can make some exceptions on. I think there are some generalities that we can make, and then that we can retcon some stuff if we need to. But yeah, things like the Lost Boundhold and the Dead Sanctiarch, and the Sanctiarchs in general, figures of import, those are story stuff. Those are like characters that have impact on interactions in the world. Regions are less of that. Races are less of that. Beasts and Bale are less of that. But they are also important because without them, you don't have any foundation. Like you need, it's the background to the world. It's the setting. And you can have characters, but the characters you can't just have characters. The characters need to be interacting with a setting, which means you kind of have to have a vague idea of the setting beforehand. And that's really, really difficult for collaboration. So we're getting a little bit off on a tangent, but since the compendium is like the thing we do in SpireHelm. Okay. Yeah. You don't think 2 years is too much since it's the thing we do? That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, it could just be the thing that SpireHelm does. Just that, until we get more people, then we're going to be inherently limited by what we can do, which might not be a bad thing, but for 2 years, that's a lot. We could, the project could get bigger and better in certain ways. And also, the more ideas we have, I think most communities are better as they get bigger. You get more opinions, some good, some bad, but mostly good, I think. So I don't know. I think that's a good point, though. It could be totally fine. Yeah, you would hate it if we tried to speed up the realm events. Yeah, I don't want to rush it. That's the other thing, too. We should start discussing future submissions during the present realm event so we can chum out projects faster. That's one thing that that I was thinking about is what are you pre-planning? So one thing that I think would help is some sort of rhythm, if that makes sense, from the direction point of view, from the top down. So we have the Peoples and Races hasn't officially started yet, but say we start it. Then there's this gray period where I don't actually have to do anything because you guys are out writing and I'm waiting for the submission window to close. So I'm making other content, which led the last time I was like trying to push out some TikTok videos and say, hey, here's some things you might not think about and you can join right now and there's an ongoing community event if you want to participate. And I think that was great and fun. And it got some people interested. I don't know if anybody submitted from that, but I wasn't being consistent. I was picking things back up. But during that gray period time, myself and other Arch Chroniclers who aren't actively participating could be working on the next realm event, getting the doc finished, figuring out things, making the decisions that we kind of made on stream, because with 12 of you guys here, it's not too bad. But I think at a certain point, people are going to have such conflicting ideas. There's going to be hundreds of people saying, I think it should be this way, and I think it should be this way. And unfortunately, you need some amount of direction. So myself and the other Arch Chroniclers, who ideally are as close to, not aligned with me necessarily, but understand what would be best, get to decide what to do. So say, they're the ones in the doc with me, helping format it, do whatever, say, I think this would be really helpful here. I don't think this would be super helpful. Maybe we should slim this down. Maybe we should increase the word count here, decrease it here, whatever it is, so that it's not just me trying to talk with a crowd of 100 people. It's me talking with 5 to 10 people about this one thing. And then when the realm event finishes, we do the big realm event stream. We make it an event. It's super fun. It's awesome. Then afterwards, we have a couple people who are designated to, then we talk again. We counsel. And we say, okay, which ones are the best ones? Let's decide. Let's see what's best for the community, not just the ones that we like the most or our friends or whatever. Try to be as unbiased as possible and choose what's best. And then we say, surprise, here are the winners, and here's the next realm event, and it's done. It's like the whole doc is finished, the submissions form is open. We have another stream the next day to say, here's everything we're going to go over. Ask me questions. Here's the Q&A about this next realm event. Ask me anything you want, and everybody, you know, gets to ask questions. They get to clarify things, and then they get to be inspired and go and do their own thing again. And that would be a perfect cycle, in my opinion, of like behind the scenes while the realm event is happening, we're already prepping for the next one. And then when that one's happening, we do it again and again. And meanwhile, I can be creating art, I can be creating content, doing other stuff, you know, to get more people interested in the project. That would be a perfect cycle, in my opinion. But I do still have some questions and concerns about that. So I don't know. Let me know what you think about that, if that would be possible or plausible, or if you think that's just kind of wishful thinking. We need themes. Yeah, we need themes. I agree. And that's one that I've been struggling with for so long. We need a story and we need themes. Because every time I try to sit down and be like, what is SpireHelm? I like, you don't know it until you see it. Really is the hardest thing. And so I'm trying to convey ideas to you guys without showing you anything, and that's really, really hard. Which is kind of this dilemma, or is that the enigma? Paradox. We need themes, but you don't know it until you see it. And the best way to see it is to have a story. But to have a story, you need a theme. You need to, like, it's impossible to kind of like birth out of, it's like the chicken and the egg. Which comes first? Do you do the story first so that you clarify the themes and then you use those themes to reinforce the story? Or do you make the themes first and then try to write the story afterwards? And then all the while trying to come up with the background and the background lore and the setting. It's hard, and there's no easy answer, I don't think. But yeah, but I totally agree, Moth. I think we need really clear themes that people can say, ah, this is SpireHelm, this is not. One of the things I've been thinking about, one of the hooks I want to use for another TikTok video is like just asking the question, why does every fantasy world now look so boring and modern? Like almost every fantasy world that is big, really big, mostly corporate fantasies, Dungeons and Dragons. I'm trying to think of other ones off the top of my head. Mostly Dungeons and Dragons, but some other ones as well. All look like a 2020s Renaissance fair. Like there's no distinct character, there's no distinct visuals. The magic is all over the place. It's lost all character. Everything is just generic Renaissance fair fantasy. And I think that conflicts with having very core themes. And Dungeons and Dragons is moving in a different direction with some of their new settings. I think I saw they're doing the Black Sun, which has very clear themes. But traditional Dungeons and Dragons, the general thing, has kind of turned into this Renaissance fair looking thing from, you know, the last 6 years. So I don't want SpireHelm to feel like a Renaissance fair from the 2020s. I want it to feel like old school 80s, 90s gritty fantasy. So that means some changes in things that people are used to in fantasy, but I think those things are good. But I do agree. I think the themes need to be nailed down sooner than later. And this is one that I've been thinking about. Like, I haven't made any videos because I'm like, I need to make this video again. Like, what are the core themes? And every time I try to look at it and be like, how do I articulate this? I just like hit a wall of just, I don't know how to do it without just showing you. But I can't show you unless we have a story, unless I make story content. Ugh, it's rough. What if we were to start a bunch of realm events at the same time, like discuss them all over the course of a month and then have them run simultaneously over a few months? Like not completely unrelated things, but the Sancti Arcs, the Dead Sancti Arc, Lords and Rulers, Figures of Import. There'd be an issue with rushing realm events. Yeah, I thought about that idea originally. The problem more is like, why do people care? And I want people to care about stuff. I think it's easier to talk about in the Discord. Stuff gets lost so fast that if there's conversations happening about every single realm event at once, I think stuff will get lost. And I think we don't have enough yet. We don't have enough themes or story or a foundation to build off of. So there's gonna be a lot of empty gaps, and you might be able to write them all at the same time, But I think it's more helpful to do one by one and say, okay, we have the Valen holds. Now when we write races, we can understand which races to place in which Valen holds and kind of how. When we write regions, we understand which Valen holds are near, and we can play off of the themes that feed into the Valen holds, because the Valen holds are characters and part of a story. And so if we have the regions reinforce the Valen holds, and the Valen holds will reinforce the characters that live there, which will reinforce the story. So that way the lore is 100% serving the story. And I think if you do everything at once, I think we might just kind of end up lost again. So that's kind of why I'm leaning away from doing all of them at the same time. I think one or two at the same time wouldn't be bad, but I kind of want to keep that into the, here's the theme, do one or two or three of these at a time. Sanctuarchs, okay. I have a personal issue with rushing the realm events. I have my freaking finals this year, so I can't pump out 3 submissions in a week. Yeah. Lower downtime in between events. Let's see. So annoyed with college. Don't care about my finals. I know these are my last 2 years of college, so they're going to be full of a bunch of hard stuff. But I am working on a project right now for SpireHelm, environment design class. So I get to do some fantasy illustration, which is fun. I hope it's good. I think it will hopefully be. I'm definitely procrastinating that right now to be on stream, but that's okay. SpireHelm is the fire friends we made along the way. Maybe before the compendium, we should have a core document that dictates vibes, and the compendium dictates lore. I think I know what you mean. Yeah. Dark Souls, Perseverance, Loss of the Self, Cyberpunk, World that can't change, everything gets worse. Yeah, themes, mood board, themes, guides, inspiration. The themes is whatever the Grand Archivist thinks the themes. That's the hardest part, is like right now, the themes are whatever's going on in my brain. And my ideas of what would make the world good, what would be best, have changed and probably will change, which is hard because I want consistency. People need to be able to count on things. Otherwise, they're going to stop caring and we will just fizzle out and die, which is not fun. So yeah, I don't want the themes to just be whatever I'm feeling on a certain day. But I agree. I think we need to have something very, very solid. Do you think we should play the long game with the people we have until the compendium is done? I think the SpireHelm growth support will occur and there's enough lore to create self-contained stories. Stuff like the Storm Warden's journal way back when. Like we shouldn't focus too hard on growth just for a little. Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. I probably won't, I mean, I have ideas for videos and I'll probably keep making some videos. I don't know if they'll be directly like pitch videos, because that's kind of like what I had been doing originally, was like, here's the pitch for SpireHelm as a whole. Get in there, do stuff, whatever. I think right now it might just be more, here's some devlogs type of things. Those are some that I've wanted to do, like, hey, here's what my community and I have decided. We've talked about these things on stream. Here's the catch up of why we're choosing these races over your generic Ren Fair D&D races. I think that's a video I have planned right now. I'm kind of scripting out and just kind of talk about the things we talked about last stream, which was like, we want this to feel old school. We want this to feel unique. And so we're opening these couple slots for new ideas to come in and make SpireHelm have its own unique version. But we're not moving too far away from generic or traditional fantasy, not generic, but traditional fantasy, which is kind of generic, I guess, for XYZ. So I'll probably make some of those videos, but I do think I agree with you on, like, let's not try to push too hard for huge growth, at least. As great as it would be, I don't think we 100% need it right now. So I think that kind of answers this question. So we'll make this one green. We'll pause outreach. Huge outreach. I think the amount of growth that we've had is fun, but we also haven't had a new chronicler, for lack of a better term, or collector in a while. I feel like nobody in the Discord that has been new has stuck around, has joined the streams, has talked about, getting into the project and been passionate. Most of you guys have been here since October or December, somewhere in that range. And so the new people that are coming in don't seem to be finding what they're looking for, or are confused or lost or whatever, which is mostly on me. But I think if people come here, I want them to be able to find what they're looking for. So we'll see. And if we need a good literary analyst that can tell us our themes, yeah. Part of that, okay, so solutions. Pause outreach till compendium is done. finish slash kind of finish the website is this one that we've talked a lot about this. I think it would help a ton with doing stuff with hosting the lore, having a themes page, a vibes page, having things that like an official source that people can look to and say, this is where I can find the heart of SpireHelm. Because like we talked about last time, there's a gradient. The themes that Moth has been talking about a little bit, like that should be the true north of a compass. And people will be any distance away from that in a gradient that, you know, gets thinner and thinner as we move towards the edges. At the very edge, you might see a little bit more of the generic Ren Fair D&D-esque fantasy, but that's like the fizzling out of the edges. We might get a couple things like that. And then at its core is the core themes, the core story, and I want that to be found on the website. I think that would be so helpful for people. Right now, I feel like we're splintered all over the place. People are trying to find stuff, and maybe that's why they're coming to the Discord, is to see like, where do I actually like get the content? And there is no content yet. We have like no content almost, which sucks. But, you know, whatever. I think the website would help to have that. We have a themes page, we have the compendium page, like the essential lore, and then we have the whole archive of here's everything else you could possibly want. So read this first, and then jump into the archive and just find anything else you could possibly want. Because if you're writing your story, you probably only need, okay, I need Bales, I need Ignispecs, and that's pretty much it. And maybe one of the Valenholds. So I'm just going to do the River Valenhold, Bale, and Ignispecs, and that's my whole story. And because I've read the essential lore, so I know everything else. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's probably something that needs to happen. So we'll green light this. Realm events. Realm events. Pause outreach. Finish / kind of finish the website. So by kind of finish, I mean I might not have the community submissions part finished, where you guys are allowed to submit and do all these sorts of things. I think comments might still work. Voting won't happen there. I tried to get some voting stuff done. It looked ugly, and we'll figure that out later. We can do voting in the Discord, on TikTok, or whatever else. But I want at least the wiki of sorts to work. I want you to be able to find information, read about it, whatever. Do you plan to have some people write stories to be approved by you and then added to the themes page? Or not be writing themes, but art themes? That's the hard thing too. And I maybe I need to write. Was it Joe or Viper last time? I don't remember who it was last stream that was saying like it might be helpful to have me do one of the submissions for the realm events that was automatically canonized, like something that were like off limits, like the humans or whatever, that we're not having the community do, just so you have an example of like where I'm looking at this from, as opposed to just wherever you guys are looking at this from, because I think, like we said, everybody's kind of coming at it from a different angle, which is hard because we don't have any themes. Maybe there's so much lore that's not there yet. That's the hard part. Is like, how do I write a story about the Sanctiarchs if A, we want the Sanctiarchs to be a realm event? Like if I'm writing the history of the kingdom or something, to try to give you some events in the past, some themes about writing and poetry and imagery, symbolism, whatever. How do I do that without even knowing what the other races are, what the beasts in Bale look like, what the regions of the realm look like? I don't want to step on your toes and try to be doing everything all at once. Solution, I could write it in the past so that it doesn't interfere with the stuff we're writing about now, which is also in the past, but maybe not as far away in the past, because I could write about stuff pre-Alythius. I could write about stuff between Alythius and the Age of Darkness, which is 120 years. Or I could write some combination of them, because I think, you know, Death of the Sanctiarch is one of the cooler things that could happen, but I also kind of want that to be a big story. Like I want something more out of it. I think this is like some big cool stuff that could happen. This is like our, you know, Death of Sanguinius. This is like our martyr. This is I'm trying to think of other martyrs in history. This is the cool stuff. It's like the inciting incident for the entire realm. It's like the darkness comes back, and then the Sanctiarchs die, and then they do whatever. So, but if that's helpful though, then maybe I could do something like that. I could write that, but that takes time, takes formatting. I don't want to put other stuff off. So yeah, and I feel a little bit bad. So that's anyways, a variety of media. Yeah, like part of me, what I want, and I don't think this is what is best. What I want is to just control everything. I want to write everything. I want to be able to do everything here because I'm inspired. That's really it. I'm just inspired and I want to do everything. I think you guys feel the same. But I don't think that's best. I don't think it's best for me to control the entire story around everything. I think it's best for me to direct, like a director, say, hey, here's what we're going for. Do this, and then give feedback and or kind of sculpt, do some finishing touches, whatever it looks like, or implement it in a good way, your ideas. Anyways, I'm getting really off track. But there are some times where I'm like, I just want to write all the Sanctiarchs. I want to come up with all 5 of them. I want to come up with the stories and the intricacies of how one of them died, how they, whatever. And I don't think that's best. But there may be an amount of it that I could do that would be helpful and would be best to give you guys a better idea of where I'm going and whatever. So we'll think about that. So this needs a themes page. It needs a, we'll go this way. Essential lore page. And probably some other stuff. We'll leave it blank for now, but we'll fill that in. Okay. We have very few people coming back. We have a compendium, that's content. Yeah, I'm going to make a thread for us to discuss themes. Yeah, that'd be great. Do you plan then to have some people write stories? Okay, we talked about that. I don't know about stories on the themes page. I think there's, because that's the thing. How do you know, how can you dictate what a theme is without just showing someone? And that's where I think maybe I should write a story. Cam writes some stuff to clarify themes. If this is what's needed, I'm happy to do it. If I think it would help, but I don't know exactly what story to write or whatever yet. You can figure that out in a little bit. But yeah, I think some stories and some other tenets. I think having something to judge your work off of or judge your ideas is really important. I think we've tried multiple times, which sucks because it means it hasn't worked. But we've talked about this. Core tenets. Heroic, magical, mystic, mysterious, dangerous, unexplored, good versus evil, medievalism, whatever. Those are like if we were to say those are the core tenets, but that doesn't really give you, because you could say the same thing about Warhammer. There's an amount of heroism in Warhammer. Or Elden Ring. Heroic, magic and mystic. It's mysterious. It's dangerous. It's very dangerous. It's unexplored. You don't explore it. It's good versus evil. Elden Ring is a little bit more gray with the greater will or whatever it is. And then medievalism, obviously. So like all of these same core tenets and themes could just be applied straight to Elden Ring or Lord of the Rings. Heroic, magic, mystic. Lord of the Rings isn't as mysterious. It's not as dangerous, but it is dangerous. It's less unexplored. It's very much good and evil, and it's very much medievalism. So you're missing like the unexplored and the mysterious part. Everything else is basically Lord of the Rings as well. This is where I'm like, every time I sit down, I go, all of these things are just generic things that people like, which are like core themes of every good story. Star Wars, heroic, magic and mystic, yeah, the Force, obviously. Mysterious, a little bit of mystery in the Force and some things. Dangerous, yeah, obviously. Unexplored, kind of, not super. Good versus evil, and it's not medievalism, it's a sci-fi. So you switch like 2 of these again, and you have Star Wars. Like, what could I possibly say that would tell people without seeing it? But then you look at stuff like Mythic Bastion Lands, and I don't know if I can see this. Let me see. You see stuff like this, and it's immediately apparent what the vibes are. This is not Lord of the Rings. This isn't Elden Ring. This is something entirely different. And you can see it immediately. you don't even have to read. And then the second you do read, you get it. Whoops. I don't know. It's really difficult to pinpoint what the core themes and tenets are, because a lot of them are core themes and tenets of other fiction, other fantasy, other whatever. So you guys see where I'm getting like every time I feel like I'm just beating my head against a wall trying to figure this out. Love to see the variety of media on the Death of the Sanctity arc. Agreed. Comics, ballads, paintings, that'd be cool. Proportions and comparisons. If we were to have a core thematic document, we should say SpireHelm is more blank than blank, but less blank. Yeah, that's probably a good way to do it. Also, I think we did that a little bit. Master lore document. Where was it? Oh wait, maybe it's on here. Actually, one second. Roadmap. Huh. Is it not on here where we said? I don't know. Stand by. Compass. Ah. Yeah, it was. It's hopeful and desperate, but not hopeless. It's chivalrous and but not political, but it's heroic. Dangerous, mysterious, but not trivial. Descriptive. It's not descriptive. The gods are desperate and beyond reality. The magic is not calculated. It's not precise, and it is mysterious. And this, I think, worked pretty well. But I don't know if this does everything. So yeah, I think this is something. How much of the tenet should affect the work? Yeah, I think that's a big one too. Is like, what is this about? Which is what is the fantasy? We always go back to that, but because that affects what you choose to bring importance to. And I think there are some people in the community who disagree, which is totally fine, on what the most important things are that we should be focusing on. Because I think some people look at this project just differently. But yeah, I think this one, like the Lords and Rulers, SpireHelm's not supposed to be really about that. Even if they play a part in the story and the politics play a small part in the story, it's not about that. Will there be hopelessness? Yeah. Is the vibe of the entire thing supposed to be just all hopelessness and there is no hope? No, not really. Will people try to calculate some parts of magic? Maybe, but should magic be this calculated, precise thing? No. So like, yeah, I think it depends on what you're writing for, and how much of these things should influence it. Yeah, should the mysterious side of magic be influencing your work? Probably 100%. That's what we kind of came to. And it might be a different fantasy than SpireHelm if you're doing these other things. Is your exploration really dangerous and mysterious? Yes, I think these are huge things. The gods and divinity, desperate, beyond reality. I think that's a pretty big thing. Chivalrous, heroic, desperate, hopeful. I don't know. It's a really hard thing to communicate with words. Maybe a graph would be better. A flow chart. I don't know. Like it's one of those things. So it'll be hard no matter what. Yeah, there's more dark fantasy but less medieval. Yeah. More dark than fantasy. Yeah. Uniqueness of its visual language is getting conflated for uniqueness. What do you mean by that, Joe? I think I understand, but maybe not. Spire than Helm. More Spire than Helm. Derived themes. We have a single thing. Battle and corruption. We draw our themes from that. Yeah, but that's kind of what like all fantasy is. Like all Star Wars, Warhammer, Lord of the Rings. It's all battling corruption. Oh. The uniqueness of its visual language is getting conflated for uniqueness. The TTRPG that I showed, the art gives it its vibe. Yeah. What does that mean for the the uniqueness of its visual language. Like but in the end, it's probably similar to other dark fantasy. Are you saying SpireHelm or Mythic Bastionlands? Because yeah, I agree. Mythic Bastionlands, it is unique in some ways, but it's also, I mean, there is no uniqueness you can completely draw from fantasy. Mythic Bastionlands, okay. Because yeah, it has some unique stuff, and it has a unique take on what makes fantasy fantasy. This is very Arthurian, Knights in Search of Glory. Rules light, flavor heavy, decisive combat, past that never was, testimonials, whatever. Inspiration, Excalibur, Pendragon, Green Knight, Elden Ring. These are inspirations, which are a lot of similar inspirations to SpireHelm for me, personally. Yeah, it's not a knock on SpireHelm to have themes that are shared in other IPs. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't think we should be trying to come up with completely unique themes because I think that's an uphill battle that we can't win. It's impossible. The themes will be shared. But I think this works really well. Knights in Search of Glory. A TTRPG is easier because when you're picking your TTRPG of choice, you have the default, which is Dungeons and Dragons, and you have all these spin-offs that are like, do you care more about tracking inventory? What is this game about? What is the fantasy of this game? If it's about tracking inventory, you're going to play an old school Renaissance game, an OSR game, or if you're going to play something very heroic and narrative driven, you're going to play Daggerheart because it's much more flowy and open, theater of the mind. If you want to play something more rules light but less structured, Mythic Bastionlands. But if you also, what is the game about? It's about Knights in Search of Glory. And then what is the gameplay like? Rules light, flavors heavy. Decisive combat. We aren't making a TTRPG outright. Whether one comes out of it, I think would be awesome. Whether we are making DLCs or third-party content for an existing TTRPG, I think that would be cool. That's way down the road. Or people can do it by themselves if they want to homebrew, whatever. But I think this stuff is helpful. Knights in Search of Glory, and this is you begin as a young knight errant seeking the glory to lead war bands. Each player is one of 72 knights, whatever. Hex crawling, domain management, aging, exploration, and mass battle are all handled through fast, streamlined mechanics. So what does that look like for SpireHelm? Like what in the world would we say? Yeah. Looks completely average. Your favorite show, Bye Bye Earth, looks completely average, but the themes it presents and the vectors of it are quite far from unique. Yeah, and I think that's like, you have kind of two ways you can take things when it comes to themes or uniqueness, identity. Whoops. Yeah, every fantasy project ever. Yeah, I agree. Knights in Search of Glory is pretty generic, honestly. But you could say that Lord of the Rings isn't entirely about Knights in Search of Glory. You could say that, is Elden Ring about glory? I don't know. Elden Ring's more about, I don't know, what would you say Elden Ring is about? I mean, you're playing a Souls game. It's implied there's some amount of presupposition of I am just a player in this game. So, but yeah, I think you could have average visuals with a unique story to tell. And I think that's what you're kind of saying, Moth, about your Bye Bye Earth or whatever it is. Or you could have unique visuals, but the same great tropes. I mean, everything is the Odyssey in a way. Like it's the hero's journey, whatever. And I think there is a world where some combination of both happens. But I think largely every story's been told in a way, which is why I think more often than not, you end up kind of telling the same story with your visuals, no matter what they look like. And I think there are movies that tell a story about somebody in our times that helps you reflect on your life differently, and it changes you as a person. You look at things differently. Even like horror movies, like Obsession and maybe the Backrooms and whatever. Like they change your view on things, and that's what they're supposed to do. They have average visuals. It's just a normal story. You could say average, meaning like there's no flying dragons in Obsession, but it has a unique story to tell of like, hey, maybe whatever, whatever, whatever. In this magical world, we use this one magical thing that helps us tell a similar trope to what's been told before in a unique way that may resonate with you differently than previously. Um, or you have unique visuals but the same great tropes, which is like Warhammer. There's just kind of like these generic things that like, oh, you want to play the Knights Templar, you're the Black Templars, or the Crusaders or whatever. And you want to play the Mongols, you're playing the White Scars, and you want to play the Unga Bunga, you're playing the Orcs. And so that's, but it's the same great tropes. People enjoy that. People enjoy everything like the heroic journey, the hero's journey, or whatever. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It pays off well. And then, and I think they both have their pros and cons. Star Wars is just the hero's journey, but at the time it was completely unique. Nobody had seen lightsabers. Nobody had seen sci-fi. It was basically sci-fi fantasy, but it's a space fantasy in a way. They'd never seen something like that, and so Star Wars was completely unique, and people fell in love with that. And sometimes people love other things, other stories. I'm trying to think of an example here of nothing really unique. I mean, we could talk about Lord of the Rings. It's at the time it was unique with visuals and whatever, but now we look back at Lord of the Rings and we say that's the default. But it has a unique story to tell. You look at your Dungeons and Dragons game; it's the same average fantasy visuals you've been seeing forever, but to you it resonates because you have a personal connection with the story. Whatever, 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 whatever. Like I'm slurring over my words now. So yeah, I think that's a good point. I think something that's not unique but important to SpireHelm is relative brutality and desperation. Yeah, that's a good point. Who are the knights? The vector of the themes are just as, or even more important than their name. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, well, because what makes a knight in Mythic Bastion lands is very different than what makes a knight in Lord of the Rings or SpireHelm or Elden Ring. So yeah, I think I agree. Context, you know, if this is about SpireHelm is about knights seeking glory, which it probably will be if the knights of the Sanctiarch, um, they're probably seeking glory and seeking heroism and trying to save their realm. But it's very different for them than it is the Mythic Bastion land guys. So I think it's a good point. Last comment. I think we need a balance of the two. Somewhat unique themes with somewhat unique visuals. Very difficult to vastly distinct in either, so I think a balance of the two is optimal. Yeah. I think we're better off doing some unique visuals. It's the 80-20 rule. It's 80% your generic fantasy with 20% unique SpireHelm. It's your 80% average storytelling hero tropes with 20% unique to SpireHelm. So I think that'll kind of fall into place. I don't know if we need to worry about this too much, but I do agree. We do need themes, obviously. Okay, let's get back to this. We're everywhere, all over the place. Tangent Central. Finish the website. Pause huge outreach. Improve. Improve organizational structure. I think this is one which I feel a little bit bad because originally, the part of the reason I haven't promoted everybody in the entire Discord to some different role is that we don't have a ton of people in here yet. We're still in the very early stages of the project, so it's hard to say who does and doesn't understand things or not. And not to say that I don't trust you guys, but there is an amount of trust of like trying to say, hey, this is important that we have somebody who understands these things, blank, 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 whatever. But I do think this would help. And I think what this means is redefine roles. Point roles, obviously, and delegate responsibilities. Should revolt, yeah. Just need your pink name back. Yeah. Also imagine SpireHelm at its core to be very folklorish. Yeah. Lots of small scale everyday interactions with magic, often dangerous. Yeah, like you almost can't trust anything anybody says because everything magical is, and that's the hard part too, is like nothing is officially canon because everybody could be wrong in a way, which is like a cop out, but at the same time, I think we kind of have to lean into that and not avoid, we don't want to be too descriptive and whatever. So let's redefine roles really quick. Let's do a whole new thing over here. Roles. Let's make it red. No, red is for, blue is important. So we have Arch. Okay, we have Lictor Illuminatus. We have Arch Chronicler. We got Artifacts Altum. We got Collector Scripturum. And then we got Collector slash Artifacts slash Chronicler. So the reason I'm grouping all these three together is just because I want people to be able to choose what they want to be. When people join the Discord, I want them to say, I want to do this thing. This is what I'm here for. And I think it's very helpful for people to know, like we talked about, what does the community interaction look like? What do I want to do? Do I want to write? Do I want to create art? Do I want to learn and tell people where to go to find stuff? So that being said, oh, this is going to be, I'm going to redo this. Hold on. This should probably be its own page now that I'm thinking about it. Goodbye. Let's see, Discord, new canvas. Roles. Because part of the problem I think as well is like I didn't have a super effective way of, oh, come on. What? Why is this not working? There we go. There we go. Okay, part of the problem was I didn't really have a really clear and cut, like this is what these people are for. We kind of had generic things, but there wasn't a really clear, you know, this is what things are for. So we will do, so, okay. This is gonna be a little bit all over the place. So, proven through submissions and writings, experienced in the community. This is kind of what these are for. Okay. Talented slash skilled creator for the community. Yeah. So this could be somebody who offers commissions. This could be somebody who has their own SpireHelm channel. This could be somebody who makes art, you know, potentially for official videos or for the compendium or whatever. These are your nerds, basically, which is all of you guys. Knows lots about the world can help find what they need / answer questions. And the last one, this is ideally like, these are North Stars. This is why I haven't really appointed anybody new to Collector Illuminatus. It's kind of just stayed as the mod status, because that's mostly what it is in the Discord, at least. But it's a little bit hard because I haven't made enough content for you guys for me to be able to gauge if you guys understand where I want the project to go, where, what would be best for SpireHelm type of thing. And what I don't want is to have to appoint people to Collector Illuminatus, and then they're like, I think SpireHelm should go in this direction, and me and or the others also not agreeing, and then have to like demote this person. I don't want like there to be any sort of falling out in the community or anything like that, especially with how small it is right now. But I want people to know, like, okay, this person is as close as it gets to knowing the insider knowledge of the project and knowing where it's going, what it could be, whatever. And obviously this down here is self-appointed Spire folk. So these are just everyday people who join and give themselves roles. So I'm thinking of changing some things. This is currently the smallest group in the entire archive, which is not a bad thing. I think in the future, we'll see more of this. Probably. Man, I need to get some more water. Voice is going to give out. So, okay, so this is not 100% set. You're not a nerd. Yeah, everybody's a nerd. That's the thing. This is kind of I don't know if I'm entirely content with this yet. Okay, so this is, call it responsibilities. And these are not like, I don't expect you guys to treat this like a job, so I never feel like this is a job. Currently, all these guys do is mod. And I have had some people who are not very active in the Discord. Some of these, like Plumwell, Rex, Ronus, and Noctis occasionally, like they'll just come in and ban people. They'll see a spam message and they're just gone. So it's nice to have around, even like when I can't be there, it's nice to have somebody who can go through and check for spam and whatever. So that's nice. Currently, these guys are doing nothing. No offense to you guys. I guess we discuss in the, is this the Liber Selecti? Or is it mod only? I don't remember. I think mod only is mod only now. Yeah, so Liber Selecti is where Arch Chroniclers, Artifacts Autumn, Collection. Okay, yeah. So yeah, the Liber Selecti chat is like the other chat there. So nothing, which is kind of sad. And then this has currently been like nothing really either. So this is not the greatest spread, if you can. This is not the most effective thing for our community, I think, especially looking forward into potentially growing, whatever. I don't think that's the best. Could somebody hold more than one? Yeah, definitely. I know I hold all of them, some kind of a bit of everything. I think some people are at least collector script terms. I don't think you ever don't become a collector script term. I think if you are one of these two, you're probably also a collector script term. These, maybe you could be one or the other, and I think if you're this, you're probably one of these as well. So, yeah, you definitely could. Averse to be employed? Yeah, if you're employed, you probably leave. Yeah, all the employed people are not here in this stream right now. No, there wasn't any like application. I still don't think I want to make an application. I think at the very beginning we had like a, we need to figure this out. We need to get people. So we like gave all these roles out because there was so much happening all at once. And I don't want to like revoke roles, but I want to make sure that what we have is means something. It's not just like I don't want people to feel like there's some caste system or hierarchy, but I do want people to know the type of feedback they're getting, who it's from. It's like, hey, is this just from a random guy in the community who's like, no, this sucks, bro? Or is it from somebody who's like, no, I think you could change a couple things here and it would be really good. And they're like, why should I change it? Oh, it's because you were a arch chronicler. You know what we're doing. You know, you were helping in the planning process. So you're actually giving me like not just tips, but like actual like an unfair advantage in some ways, or a fair advantage, I guess. So I want them to be purpose driven. So I think these will stay as probably mods. And we talked a little bit about, I can delete this now, what this looks like. Art chroniclers can help run realm events. Artifacts Ultims could hold art and media club meetups. Collectorship Term could help move raw submissions into stuff that fits into SpireHelm. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Because like canonically, I mean, like, doesn't need to be perfect, but the Collector's Scriptorum are like the adventure leaders. These are like your Aragorns, your other adventuring parties, your Thor and Oakenshield. For lack of better reference, we always go back to Lord of the Rings, but that's who these guys are. These are more the in the archive, which is for unfortunately or fortunately for us is where most of the stuff happens. Is we're just talking about lore and stuffs. But yeah, I think that's a good idea. I don't know if I want to make another chat for all of this. I don't think I do. I don't think I want to. I don't know. Because I don't want to exclude people from being in certain chats because they're not one of these, people, whatever. This one's mostly just talk about like bands and stuff, so it's pretty boring. Yeah, the names of the roles are beside the fact. The roles should be expanded so engagement and progress does not hinge on one person, I think is what you're saying. Yeah, it's more just for the fact of just for the fun of LARPing it. I almost want to move this over here. Like, I almost think that this applies to all of them as a whole. Anyone in this group is probably a super nerd because we're all nerds. Most of us are super nerds. Knows a lot about the lore, can help people find what they need, answer questions. That's what people should see in any of this. Yeah, we're all nerds. The only reason you're in this Discord is if you're a nerd. If you're not a nerd, you're probably just following on TikTok and that's it. Or you're hopping these live streams and you just want to see where it goes. That's totally fine. There should be nobody in here is better than anybody down here. But there are, like I said, there is some amount of trust that I would need in some of these people to not be like trying to go behind my back and like try to change the direction of the project because they think that's what's best for the whatever. Like we said, I'm not trying to be like a dictator, but I am the director. This was my idea in the beginning. Whatever. I'm the one trying to steer the ship, if that makes sense. And so if you're just going to be like tearing holes in the sails to try to like make the ship stop, that's obviously not what I want up here. I'm totally fine if somebody down here is just like, oh yeah, I think that we should do this. I hate this whole project. I hate everything about it. There's going to be people in every single comment section for all of time that are going to say, you suck at this. You guys all have the wrong idea. This would be so much better if it was just D&D, but with a dark fantasy vibe, whatever. So, whatever. Discriminate the non-nerds? Absolutely not. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking this goes here. So I think this could also be reflected because currently there's like, I don't think you need to be, this is so hard. Sorry, I'm deeply thinking. So part of me wants to say only people who have had their work canonized get Collector Scripturum. That was my original thought. But I don't know if that's productive. I don't know if that's what's best for the community. I think this one is fine. Skill creator or helps with creation, whatever. Yeah, this could be super overwhelming. Yeah, I think once we get this solved, figured out, I think it would be helpful. Probably in like the rules, like the server guide. Yeah, how SpireHelm works, rules, and like yeah, roles and help kind of page, something that would tell people where to go to find stuff. Um, Maybe I'm going back this backwards. What are the responsibilities? These are mods, and I think anything to the left includes maybe not everything, maybe just these guys are kind of. We'll figure out what to do here. We'll pause on that. So we talked about this. Help prep the next. Help prep realm events. And this could look like all sorts of things, getting the Google Sheets, whatever, anything. Help with administration. This could be stuff like website stuff. Like you could be like this could be GTA trailers in 10 minutes. Oh, that's the one on Netflix, isn't it? I don't even have Netflix. Like uploading information to the website if we need like a new page built or whatever. Because I've already done all like the templates, so it's just a matter of like would like if somebody wanted to in their free time or if I ask or something, I don't know, go in and put in the Valen holds into the pages so that they are there. Whatever. Website, what else? Helps with what? Like what do we even? Because I don't want to just like give you guys responsibilities, but I do think that if certain people knew they were allowed to do certain things and were given permission to do certain things, like you guys said, things would kind of run smoother. So I think what's going on? Yeah, lots. We're trying to figure out what roles would be the most helpful. Whoa. Because yeah, we were over here saying like, these are our solutions. Probably pause outreach, try to finish the compendium, whatever. Kind of finish the website. That's kind of more on me. And then improve organizational structure, redefine roles, appoint roles, delegate responsibilities. That's kind of where we're at right now. Discuss roadmap and tasks and whatnot, like just things that need to get done, what we think the next realm event should be. I like the voting, but I think we limited them down to like a good number of the most important stuff before we said like whatever. Because like we said, there is a difference between what people want, what I want, and what would be best. I think I wanted any combination of peoples and races, sanctiarchs, and forces of darkness, and some people wanted something completely different. But I think what was best was like some combination of those in the next order. So discuss roadmap, tasks, and what would be best. So I think that's fair. I can just move these guys off. Not that they're not important, just that these guys shouldn't have any implied responsibilities. I think they're totally fine being just where they're at. He's telling us to actually do stuff. I know. This is all optional. This is not a job. This is, hey, you are allowed to do this if you want, and we would love your feedback. Administration website, submission forms. And yeah, is this so maybe the collector scripturum. Hear me out here. Read and give feedback on community submissions. So this would be a way to, like we said, 100% open voting means that some people who have no idea what the community is about, no idea what SpireHelm is about, have the same leverage in choosing importance, canonization, those sorts of things, as you guys who are here all the time. So maybe we switch this to more of the collector scripturum. These are people who have proven their experience through writing, or if they haven't written anything and gotten canonized, they're just people who are the super nerds. They know stuff. They would be able to lead an adventure of sorts and give you feedback on what makes a good submission. This is the stuff that the Arch Chronicler used to be about. And so this could be stuff that might go under the radar for me or any of the other Arch Chroniclers, especially if stuff gets a little bit bigger, if we're having 10 submissions per section, or if we're having people submit things to the records section of the archive of just, here are some cool stories, and I might have missed it, and you might go, hey, you should really check this one out. Or you guys, plural, should check this one out. Maybe that's something that could be more helpful. And then it's, hey, give these 3 or 4 or 5 really heavy consideration, and then we can look at those 4 or 5 instead of having to look through 200. I don't love the idea of just trying to filter through different people's opinions and not giving light to everybody's ideas. But at the same time, we will run out of time to physically read everything. And so it will have to go through some sort of system to figure out, well, what should we actually give weight to and what are just fun offshoot stories that can just remain their own thing. Yeah. So I think that could be helpful. This one. I don't really know. I mean, I enjoy formatting, document formatting. That's not the hardest part. People with open commissions. I think there could be a cool place to say, hey, my commissions are open if you want me to draw your SpireHelm characters. I think even if you're just a normal artifact, you should be able to do that. But I think these are ones that I'm like, hey, this guy's style or the way they interpret certain things, their visual language is very in line with what goes on in SpireHelm, whatever. Makes official music. This is not Arachnus, Vincerus, who I've been working with a lot for the music previously. Haven't had a lot of stuff that I've needed more music for yet, but I think in the future I would love more. I just don't know. I don't know what else. So then the Arch Chronicler would be less about knowing stuff, guiding people with lore and information, which is pretty much what most of you guys have been doing anyways. When new people come in and they're saying, hey, I have these questions about this. That's what you guys have been doing, which is great. Originally, that was kind of the idea of the Arch Chronicler, but once again, the canonical differences between that and what's functionally happening in the Discord and in the community at large are different. They don't have to match up entirely. And so these are trusted, not trusted in you're the only ones I trust, but I don't know if there's a better way to put it. Aligned. Admin roles? I don't even know. Helpers? That sounds so you're just a helper. Just a volunteer. You don't get any money because we don't have any money. So it's all volunteer work, sadly. And And maybe in the future, I don't know how it would all work if I was actually hiring people to do different things and whatnot. But I think this would be helpful. Discuss roadmap, task would be best, help prep the next realm events. This would include like um, doc formatting, submission forms. Did I spell that wrong? Which is already on here, which is redundant. I don't know if you guys can hear my dog. He's dreaming about something. Every once in a while he'll start like howling in his dreams. Oh, this is squished. There we go. So website, that would be structure maybe. You know, I know Joe has mentioned that he has some expertise in website stuff. Inputting, linking info in the website, among other things. I don't think there's any, whatever. Do we get a pink name? I don't know. I don't think so, because I want people to be able to see first and foremost what people's SpireHelm tendencies are, what they prefer in SpireHelm. And so I think having the artifacts, chronicler, collector, I think that's probably the clearest way for people to say like, oh, I see what you do, and I see what you're here for. DM's Guild, very bad licensing agreement. I don't know anything about that. If I made content for TTRPGs, I don't know which one I would choose. I don't think it'd be Dungeons and Dragons, because I like we said, like it's just a little too far out there. But then again, every Daggerheart and Draw Steel are almost just as Ren Fair looking. Like there's no, I don't know, there's no really old school traditional. I mean, there are like OSR, Shadow Dark, I think is one, Knave. There's a few others that are kind of more old school. So I don't know exactly. I don't have a ton of expertise in those old school things, but I don't know. Some of those TTRPGs are more about the play style being old school than like the actual setting. I think ours is a little bit backwards. I would want the play style of Draw Steel and Daggerheart, but with the setting of the old school RPGs. So I don't know. Yeah, and I think Viper, there at some point there will be a distinguished. There will be SpireHelm the community, and there will also be, you know, what is like Shadowthorn Studios, SpireHelm, whatever admin. There may have to be some business behind it. At a certain point, if I'm hiring people and I'm selling products, and I'm not just making passive money off TikTok and whatever, then there will have to be some sort of LLC created or business, whatever, and that will have to generate its own revenue or its own value somehow. And if that takes the place of, hey, the website has all the free information that you need to participate, but if you want it to look cool and you want to have it physically as a copy, then you buy our product, and it, you know, it funds the people creating these new things. Like MCDM has pretty much a whole video about it that he did on a walk, talking about how there are some people think that if anything is paywalled, then it's evil, and it's the greedy corporation. And some people think that if anything is given away for free, then you're a failing business, whatever. And the truth is that there are just different pools of people. And if you want to be a person who just participates in the free stuff, go for it. That's totally fine. And if you want to be somebody who buys a book, a physical book, you can do that. And if you want to be somebody who buys a collector's edition of a book for 10 times the price, that's also okay, and you can do that, and it supports the growth of the product and the business and the world, whatever. So at its core, I never want anybody to be able to be paywalled out of participating. And I've never felt this way for anything, even D&D. Like I played D&D and I've never owned a single book. And so I love that format. There are some things like reading books that like you kind of have to buy the book, but our stuff is taking place mostly online, so I want people to access content for free online. But obviously, if it comes to, hey, we're going to make an animated series, heaven forbid we ever get that big, then that costs a ton of money. And the only way to actually make that feasible is to charge something for it. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I think it's worth noting that if we ever needed more money, there would be some bonus that we would add. It would say, okay, you can do this normal stuff, or you can have this nicer, prettier looking thing that lets you also support the community and the people making this happen. So that's a bridge we'll cross if we ever get there. Which we may not. We may. Who knows? So the only thing I'm thinking here is if this is true, then we probably want the Libre Selecti chat to have all of these people in it. And then potentially just the mods only chat, which would be like the Tutus Tenebris or whatever, would have just these two to talk about this sort of thing, the boring type of stuff, where the Libre Selecti could be more fun stuff. Is that clear enough? Or is that not clear enough? I feel like this is a good start. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to fill up my water bottle and I'll be right back. Okay, there we go. Yeah, and I think we'll go over more probably in the chronicler chat and figure out like really what would need to be done. I don't think I need to go over that here. I don't think that's super helpful. I think it'd just be more time. Yeah, the roles needed more structure because it was just kind of flourish, which kind of just felt like, yeah, look at me, I'm better than everybody, which I don't want. And if at any point somebody in any of these roles comes off as I'm better than everybody else down here because I'm in one of these roles, then they will probably very quickly be kicked from that role, if not given a very stern warning of like, we don't do that. That's not what this is for. That's different than, trust me, I know what Cam's designs and his theories are for this world and his like it's different when you're telling someone, hey, I know you're new here, I'm experienced, trust me, this sort of thing won't go over well. That's different than, well, you have to listen to me because I'm an arch chronicler. People can still do what they want. People can still do stupid stuff. You can just tell them, hey, that probably won't work super well. So that's, I think that's pretty good. And so this will still kind of be one of these less administrative and more like conditional, like, hey, I want a commission or official music, or if somebody's going to run their own channel and I'm like, hey, everything this YouTube channel makes so far has been like S tier quality, whatever. It's perfectly awesome. You should check them out. If at some point, once we get the compendium finished, like we talked about, then we kind of transition into this, use it however you want. I intend for the majority of the SpireHelm community to be built around, like I would say there would be at least an equal part of it being not centralized. Like if 50% of the people were following my channel, I would hope that the other 50% is following other people's stuff at some point. That's my goal, is like, you're not, like, I'm hoping other people are making TTRPG adventures, like a D&D adventure set in SpireHelm, and you can go buy their stuff so that my world building project, my channel, my whatever, is helping other people make cool stuff, create, and make money, hopefully. I hope they make money off of me, that I don't make $1 off of their stuff. If they want to work with me and we can both put it out, in, like we said, in a future point, and we both make money, great, because I would be able to get it out to more people if I am still the center of this project. If the SpireHelm channel is still the center of SpireHelm, then I imagine that'll be mutually beneficial. But I totally intend for people to be able to do whatever they want with the project. And so if there's a point where I'm like, hey, go check out these guys' D&D adventures, go check out these guys' music, go check out whatever. If they're in the Discord and they're active and they're doing stuff, then I think that's kind of the place for an Artifacts Ultim. Otherwise, I think most of the stuff that you guys have been doing that's been happening so far will be kind of within these two roles. So some of you that are Arch Chroniclers may be changed to Collector Scripturum, maybe vice versa, maybe Collector Scripturum back down to Collector. There should be no offense taken here. It's just like we said, we want what's best for the project going forward. And so whatever that looks like, I think is worth doing for now. And things might change. You guys, who knows where things will go from here. But yeah, I think this is a better way to do it. And then we can discuss more in the future what these look like. So I'll get on that here after the stream and figure that stuff out. And then I think we can kind of, maybe not full steam ahead, but let's get the next Realm event going. Yeah, we'll talk about some more stuff in this chat, but going to run D&D game in SpireHelm after my current campaign is over for sure. So excited to do that. Yeah, there's nothing planning on being published right now. If when we get the compendium done, there's a huge number of people who are really, really interested in the project again, if we had another huge growth and we say we actually have something now, then we might publish it into a book. And I might look to a publisher and say, okay, and then I might look to artists and commission artwork if I don't have the time to do it, if I'm doing all the formatting, or I might look to an editor and say, I want to do the artwork or some of it and whatever. But yeah, right now there's no plans to publish anything officially. Everything right now is just kind of in the free zone, if that's a thing. So yeah, next Realm event should be soon. I don't know exactly when. I wish I could give timelines. We're just so early on that I don't really have a good guess or guesstimate of how long it would take to get things going. One of the other problems I think I had, or I think we faced, was, I don't remember, it was Viper or Char, or somebody was saying like there's just a little bit of ambiguity of when did the thing officially start and when didn't it start, which is kind of why I'd rather prep the Realm events behind the scenes. As much as I love these streams, I think they're very helpful, I'd rather prep them kind of behind the scenes with comments from the Arch Chroniclers and whatnot. And then when we launch it, it's just all at once. The entire community gets to read through the information. We do a stream and we do a Q&A stream. We read through the Realm event. We juggle ideas back and forth. We kind of say, hey, these are some cool ideas, whatever. I think that would be great and better than what we have right now, which is kind of like I'm showing you guys the inside, the back, the behind the scenes, all that sorts of stuff. And it's kind of giving some of you guys maybe a false impression that we're starting, or some other people that don't know that this is happening. When it starts, they're already behind, which I don't really want. So we'll figure out what that looks like. I feel like an heir that was forced into nobility against my will for the security of the family wealth. Yeah. Yeah, the beginning it was just like, hey, whoever's been chatting the most kind of got the Arch Chronicler role, which is not a bad thing, but it was very chaotic back in October, November of last year. So things have definitely changed. It's fun being privy to information pertaining to the Realm event, but it would be more fair to say, here's the event, it starts now. Yeah, put everyone on equal footing. Which is why I think like the Chroniclers, the Arch Chroniclers that are working on the Realm event won't be the ones participating, and vice versa. There'll be like a distinction of sorts. So I think that's totally fine. Yeah, it's fun to know stuff beforehand. I think it's totally fine to know, like, hey, this next one's going to be about races and people. I don't know. There's a balance, because I think it's the streams that we've had, the last stream that we had was so helpful for people to know, like, to not get their hopes up that they're going to be able to create a completely new spin-off of Dwarves. So, like, there are some things that I think would be helpful for the community to know. And I think I want to do those in the form of, like, the devlogs of say, hey, the Arch Chroniclers and I of the community have been talking about these different things. Here's some of the conclusions we came to, and let me know your feedback in the comments, whatever it is. I might still stream and talk about some of the stuff that we did. We might not be doing all of it on stream 100%. And some of that might go to Twitch. Talked about maybe doing some of the less essential stuff here and do the less essential stuff on Twitch and do the more essential stuff here. So the Realm event launches, the Q&As, the Realm event finales, that sort of stuff will take place here on this YouTube channel, and then maybe like art stuff and just random development, whatever. For the people who really care, they can go find me on Twitch. I don't know if I'd even plug my Twitch in anywhere. It would just be those who know kind of thing. It would be stuff that's completely optional, not like hiding it from people, but stuff that I wouldn't, if once again, if this was to grow, I want everybody to care about the YouTube streams, because I don't want people to have to look at the thumbnail and be like, do I join this one? Do I not? Do I want to be here? Do I not? I'd rather have people go, okay, he's streaming on YouTube. It's important. He's streaming on Twitch. Maybe then I'll check it out if I feel like it or not. Once again, not 100% married to this idea, but I think it would be helpful. Yeah. The thing is that how my schedule is going to be packed. I appreciate to know like the form and the theme beforehand, so I have enough to finish the stuff I want to post. Yeah, those who know. Yeah, those who know. Dos uno. 2-1. Yeah, well, this has been a fun stream. I think we're at a good point. I think this needed to happen. The only question we don't have answered is what really happens. What does the collaboration look like after the compendium is finished? Which I would hope is less than a year. Ideally, like it would be super awesome if by the end of next summer, because I'll probably have more time next summer when I'm not in classes. If there's a way to finish it by next summer, that would be awesome. But maybe even sooner. Who knows? Yeah, I'd also love, like you were saying, Ollie, just barely. I think I would love to launch every Realm event with a video, like I did the Balon Holds. I think that'd be helpful. So here's the Realm event video. Here's your reference. What's it about? Here's your guides. Here's things you need to know, whatever. And then right after that, or the day after, or whatever, or later that night, or whatever, we go live on YouTube. We talk through stuff. We say, hey, ask your questions, whatever. Talk through some stuff. Find people to collaborate with. Talk in the Discord, whatever. It's just a community, chill, hangout, Q&A, whatever. Yeah, and then I think that would be the most helpful. And then the Realm event happens. While that's happening, the admin side of things is working on the next one, and then we get ready to launch. And then it's after the finale stream, we're then back to doing stuff. And then the other part of it that I want to do is I want to make videos about the winning submissions. I think that should be super obvious. Like I want to make here's the Balon Holds follow-up. Here are the 4 Balon Holds and the canonized stuff. Here's a YouTube video with some mood art or some actual sketches or whatever, maps, things like that. I think that would be like so cool. But I just haven't had time to do that yet. I haven't even had time to put it in the website. I've been so busy. So I think having some of that lifted a little bit would be awesome. So yeah, I think announce in the Discord some of the role changes, make a page with the role changes that tells you like here's what the roles do. Optional, obviously. Yeah. Projected timeline, time we should expect the next Realm event. I think the next one we're still on for Peoples. Sorry, before we go to that. Right now, I think this is probably, maybe sadly, I don't know, you could say it's sad. I mean, for you guys, you'll be able to participate in the entire compendium until then. It just, the vibe of the project may change after the compendium is finished to something more like this, which is a predictable change. But I think, like we said, the compendium style thing is probably not sustainable. We can still probably do Realm events, but I think it'd be smaller impact Realm events. And then those feed into this too. That's confusing. I don't like that. So that may be what it looks like. We can come back to this and try to figure out a way to make it still as impactful. It just may change a little bit. But yeah, Moth, we definitely won't lose the community input on the Realm events. I think right now, especially with the way that the Realm events are going, I think it's going to be one of these no matter what. And so I think we'll let the community vote 100% on which one's the next. Um, so it won't be like us just deciding. If that makes sense. I think like what we needed was to figure this out. Which are the most important things that need to be in the compendium? Everything that's not going in the compendium, we are throwing out the window until we come back to it. So like magic systems are not on here because there's no point in putting that in the compendium. What other things aren't on here? There's a couple things that people think are important that, oh, gods aren't really on here, although we've kind of already finished the gods, so I guess that's kind of why. Anywho, so yeah, it'll still be the community voting on which one is next. It'll just be of the selection that we think is the most important, since we don't want people just deciding to do fairies as an entire realm event when there's more pressing stuff to happen. So, yeah, I think that's kind of it for this. Oh yeah, okay, so roadmap, consistency, schedule, blah 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 blah. Un video más, mi gente, para perder el tiempo, empecemos. Let's do new canvas. Let's see. Furries? Oh, fairies. Yeah, not furries. Realm event roadmap. Let's do one more canvas for the sake of it before we go. This is going to be quite the, what is this? Holy cow. I don't even know what to call this. We're just going to call this the, not the bit. The better roadmap. The cooler roadmap. Okay. So let's do this. You guys can leave if you want. This is more just for me and for the Arch Chroniclers, like whoever wants to know. That's all. Okay. So realm event launch. Writing / submissions. Okay. Deadline. Closure. Winners decided. This is the most not circle looking circle I've ever seen. It's a little bit lumpy, but who cares? Okay. Am I missing something? Or is this it? This is kind of unrelated, but kind of both at the same time. So relevant launch, writing submissions. I'm gonna do this purple for Arch Chronicler stuff. So prepping next doc / submission form. Event doc / submission form. This will be collector scripturum. Help parse through submissions and what is the nominate winners. Decide winners. This will be Arch Chroniclers. And then Winners stream. I don't really know what happens in between here. Is this Frankenstein ideas? Does that happen in between here? Or are we kind of cutting? Are we being kind of done with that? I don't know. I think so. Frankenstein ideas and stream. This is the. Oh wait, so I guess launch. We'll do that. Let's just do this. Event launch through a vid, a YouTube video, and then this would be Q. Where's the symbol? Oh my gosh. Oh, Q and a. Ooh, a live stream. Wow, that was a struggle. So that'll happen at the same time. Frankenstein ideas. Franken is really styling his monster. Yeah, that's true. Is this a good cycle from a schedule point of view? Or is there something missing here that, like, keyboard stutter? Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I think this is helpful. And I think this kind of gives the collector scripturum their job, whatever. We can also say help people know what to write / yeah, that's kind of that thing. So it gives people like stuff to do. You know, the collector scripturums get to help people write, answer questions, lore related stuff. You know, those who know, the people who know the most. That's super nerds like we are. And then after the writing submissions are done, it can be, hey, when I was talking with people, these couple submissions seem to have really good ideas. You should consider them for X, Y, and Z reasons if that's necessary, if we don't have time to read all of them, whatever. And then we can kind of decide on the winners. And once the winners are decided, then we have Frankenstein ideas, and then let's do Canon video with the Frankenstein ideas. Which I still need to do for the Balin holds. I think I have all the submissions. I could be wrong. I think I have all 4. Could be wrong. And then I just need to make a Canon video of, like, here's all the stuff that happens. And this video could be, there could be some help here from, I don't know. I don't want you guys to have to, like, write my videos for me. That seems, I don't think that would work very well. But I don't know how that would help. Oh, and then add Canon stuff to archive website. Whoa. Canon content. So this could be something that could be done by that. Burl Deep final submission description. Okay, yeah, Burl Deep is still going. Yeah, that one's one that makes sense. It's kind of hard to decide how many free fleets are going to do and what that looks like. That one was probably not a good idea to do them as an exact tie, but at the same time, they were both really good. They just kind of looked at the submission in a different way. So anything else? I think there's something else missing here. Side winners. Finalize next realm event. Decide winners, whatever. So the only thing I'm thinking of logistically, this might not be a question I have to answer here, but if you're prepping the next realm event, you're not writing in the current one, which means you get to help decide the winners. For next realm event, which means you're also doing this. So, oh my gosh, wait, this is confusing. Because there's if there was a group A and group B, group A could submit. Group B would be working on the next one. And did the next one, but if you're working on the next one, wait, but if you worked on it, would you be allowed to write in it or no? Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, Viper, if there's a rotation here, or if it's I need I'm such a visual person, I have to be able to see this. So group A, group B. Because you wouldn't be able to, so prep next, and group B could write, because you probably wouldn't want to do both at the same time. That'd probably be a lot, especially if we're trying to speed up a little bit. Not like rush, but speed up a little bit. Something finale, and then next launch. I'm just trying to think this through. So they prep the next one, but if you prep it, do you get a write in it as well, or do you not? How do you ever swap? I'm I'm so confused. Or does it need a C? Where write. Wait, this is just so complicated. I don't know how this would even. I don't even know. I think this is overkill, but because if we talk about if you're. Oh wait, no. I'm thinking different. Yeah, if you're the one writing, you don't get to decide the winners because you're prepping for the next one. But if you prep for the next one, do you get to write in the next one? Probably. I think that's fine. I don't think there's any conflict of interest there. I just think if you're prepping for the next one, you don't get to. If you're writing, you don't get to decide the winners for the next one. We'll figure that out. That doesn't need to be discussed here. Okay. So, peoples and races. This will be the last thing we do, and then I'm probably good to hop off for the day. I think the next one is probably going to be the dark forces. I think. So dark forces is here. So we need to finalize next realm event. This includes some of the documenting, whatever. Just let ACs write for whichever. In the end of the day, their opinion will likely be drowned out by their ACs. Yeah, I guess that's true. We could just say you can't obviously vote for your own. Yeah, we'll see. If we need to make a rule, we can make a rule, but until then, I don't know if we need to. Need to add canon to website. Next realm event, and then launch. Oh wait, I guess that's just backward. That's what this would be. Peoples and races. I think that's really all it is. We just need to finish it, and then I need to film video. So this has been a very administrative, boring, freaking corporate meeting of a of a live stream, but I appreciate your patience. Yeah, we don't need to count for corruption. Yeah, you're definitely not a corrupted whatever. So like, yeah, this is pretty much what needs to happen. I mean, this one could be optional, because the website won't be up maybe by that time. So we'll figure it out. I have my own to-do list of things that I want to do. But yeah, I think this will be more helpful with some of you guys helping with it, and then YouTube video, whatever, people's races, and then we'll do the rinse and repeat this kind of cycle. We will send this. Come on, copy image. There it is. I don't know where this would be helpful for. I think this will go in Libre Selecti. We'll just put it in here. So, anyways, I think that's about it. Is there anything else you guys want questions answered? I know this wasn't really a Realm event live stream. I probably should get some homework and stuff done, but I may be able to stream again tomorrow, and we can go over more of the stuff. Although, same time, I think we made it to a really good point last time with the Realm event, and I think with this new structure, I think we might move more towards like finalizing this on the back end, and then we'll push it out until once it's done, we'll send it as is. So I think, yeah, let's circle back on that. Can I actually like dovetail off that? Actually, just to like poop on what you were just saying right there. I think like let's just not try to like boil the whole ocean. What do we think of the pose idea of no realm event in June? What does that mean? I think, school and college goers. Yeah, I'll rewind. I'll do a recap really quick. Yeah, we'll talk about more finalizing stuff. Yeah, we'll talk about other stuff. Yeah, just a quick 3 hours. Is that how long it's been? 33 minutes ago? Yeah, that's not right. I've been streaming for a lot longer than that. Yeah, a lot of people are in the 18 to 24 group, which is like college age. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know exactly how we'll do it, but it'll be hard no matter what. That's the thing. I don't want people to feel like this is a job they have to do, but I also don't want people to feel like they're missing out because they're trying to double up their time. So we'll try to keep realm events long enough that people can do good stuff, but we'll also try to keep them small enough that people don't feel like it's another project to do during school. So yeah, we'll do that. But yeah, as far as June goes, I mean, if we're still doing this again June next year, then yeah, we can talk about it then and see what works best. For Princess P, basically, how long will the pause for writing be? I don't know if we're not doing a pause, right? A couple things. Mostly, we were just trying to answer the question of why are people here? This was an older stream. Why are people here? We want retro dark fantasy stuff. We want content mostly. We want vibes mostly, and people are also here for collaboration. And we want to figure out what that collaboration looks like, whether it's active participation or passive. You know, if you're just giving input versus actually writing the lore yourself. And the writing the lore yourself kind of goes down to the realm events. And on the other side of things, we want content. We need a story. We want a story. So now we're kind of coming back to this of what does community interaction look like for people? How do they participate in SpireHelm? With TTRPGs, it's very easy because you just play the game. You might buy stuff. You might make stuff. You might be a DM. You might be a player. You might buy minis. You might paint minis. But there's all those different types of community interaction. Right now, what most people are here for is collaboration. They want their stuff to get canonized. They want to participate in building the lore. And I don't want to give people a false sense of hope here, but there's no guarantee that this will work long term because there's just this question of how does this work in the first place? I don't know if this is sustainable because writing is not inherently collaborative. It is It's not. We are going against the grain. We are going upstream here. And so we need to decide what's going to be best for the project. And that sometimes might be different than what I want and what people want. And we have to account for the fact that more people will be joining this project as we go. And the more people we get, the more capability we get with some money and stuff. So the solutions to this problem, how do we have collaboration? How do we give people what they want out of community interaction without taking things away? And these are our solutions. Pause huge outreach until Compendium is done. So I'm not going to be trying to get droves of people in here. We're going to have, people trickling in 10 a week, 20 a week maybe, but that's fine. Until the Compendium is finished, we are still in the early stages of this project. And so we don't want to take forever to get the intro done, like you said. After the Compendium is done, the content might shift towards a official headliner type story, whether it's a web comic sort of thing, an interactive animation, whatever. I want the community to decide where that story goes in like an open-ended choose your own adventures type of thing. That way there is still some amount of community input. And then there will be community ideas and records and maybe some smaller realm events that aren't as impactful that may get tied into the main story, whatever. That's probably what it will look like unless we come up with a better way to do things. That's kind of the only one. That's the only way I can picture it functioning healthily in the future. Other things, we just need to have the website. We need an essential lore page. And we really need to clarify themes. This is a big one that kind of needs to be done. We need to figure out what the real themes are of SpireHelm, how to communicate that well without having to have me overwrite everything and do it all myself. And then the last thing is improve organizational structure. So redefine roles, appoint roles, and delegate responsibilities. That is this page. So it would be, what do certain roles do? What are their jobs? Like, why are they there? And so we decided all the super nerds, all of us are super nerds. So pretty much this applies to everybody in the entire thing. Anybody who is here often is a super nerd, basically. Knows everything about the project, is following along, whatever. This would be proven through submissions, writings, experience in the community, somebody that, I can trust to give people good feedback on their writings, help keep them from going in the wrong direction if they have the wrong idea for what type of fantasy this is or what type of collaboration looks like. And then some responsibilities they might have, optional responsibilities, is they could give feedback on community submissions. If they say, hey, this person made something really good for this realm event, consider it. And then obviously guide people with lore and information. This one, kind of like not a super administrative one, but just help people. You might make official music, people with open commissions or other channels, endorsed channels. This would be like if somebody had their own YouTube channel about SpireHelm and it was making great content, then this would be like your blue or your green Artifacts Altum in the community, whatever. And then lastly, Arch Chroniclers is kind of shifting from what used to be this. So if you're a Collector Scripturum, you're essentially what an Arch Chronicler used to be. This is just now doing a little bit more administrative lifting. So these are people that I think have a really good vision for what the project is, where it's going, what would be best for it. This could be discussing the roadmap, the tasks, what would be best for the future. This would be realm event, help prep, doc formatting, submission forms, whatever. And then other administration, helping put stuff into the website, linking info in the website, because I want to make it more of a cross website thing where you can click on a word and it will take you to another page. So stuff like that is stuff that will be done here. And then the Collector Luminatus will either be like North Stars, people I think are as close to like my own brain as possible, and or just people who are mods and can ban people for spamming or scamming in the community, basically. I think that's it. Princess P, if you missed anything, or anybody else, this is kind of the TLDR. This is kind of the realm event cycle, because we want to have a method to reliably trust in. We don't have it 100% figured out what the pacing will look like. I think once we go through this next one, we'll have like, okay, we've had these two. We can confidently say that the next realm event will be 2 weeks long, 3 weeks long, 4 weeks long, whatever, and the intermission will be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever. But it'll basically go, Arch Chroniclers will help prep this is the next one. The Scripturums will help people know what to write. They can write themselves. And then after the writing submissions, I can help parse through some of the submissions and nominate some winners. Obviously the closure, then the Arch Chroniclers will decide the winners kind of between me and them, and then we'll announce the winners. Frankenstein some ideas, and I'll put those into a canon video of like once everything is done, once we get all the Valen holds together, I will say, here are the Valen holds, and here's the video, here's the YouTube video to say, these are the official Valen holds, these are stuff that my community made, I'm super proud of them, blah, 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 glazing, you should go read their stuff. And then we'll add that content to the archive, and then we will launch the next Realm event that these people were working on while this was happening. And then we'll launch that through a YouTube video, do a Q&A live stream afterwards so that people can ask questions like we've been doing previously. And then we rinse and repeat. Does that answer every question? Any other questions? Mandatory Gen Alpha 6-7 quota has been met. 6-7 weeks minimum. Yeah, I think like I'd rather have a longer event and shorter time in between events than the opposite. A short event and a long time in between, which is kind of what we had. We had like 4 weeks, and it's been more than 4 weeks, I think, since the last Realm event. So I'd rather, yeah, I think like 4 weeks was pretty good. Gave people enough time to work on stuff, enough time to generate hype. I could make a couple videos a week that would kind of talk about things, and could do a couple Q&A streams in the meantime. Like this could happen all through here until the actual closure date. That's totally fine, I think. And then, yeah, and I'd rather have like this, I think the deadline to the winners being decided could be less than a week. I think last time we did in a few days, which is fine. I did in a few days. And then launching the next one, this section is what I want to be, you know, pretty short. I agree that Frankensteining ideas can probably take a long time. It takes collaboration, whatever. That's totally fine if that takes longer. But I think this can bleed into over here. This can take as long as it needs to. It's just it's probably happening mostly in this timeline. So yeah. Yeah, it was summer. School year, 6 is best. Yeah, it's probably fair. It was 4 weeks during the summer. Yeah. So whatever it needs to be, we'll figure that out. But yeah, I think having it concise, and obviously this is our focus. I think it generates more hype, generates more people caring about things and whatever. 8 weeks would be better. Yeah, it could be 2 months. And then yeah, we'll talk about more of that in the other chat. But cool. Well, yeah, I think either maybe tomorrow or Saturday, maybe I'll do like an evening stream and we'll figure out some more stuff for the Realm event if we need to, or I'll just stream something else. And you know, I want to do some art. I want to do some other fun stuff. I don't know. We've kind of had, this is a boring stream. Sorry for those of you who endured the entire thing. But yeah, I'll be in the Discord today. I'll be probably rearranging some stuff, making a new page and whatnot, and rearranging some of the chats for these roles and whatnot. Oh wait, Arch Chronicler is blue, isn't? Oh, I've been doing this wrong the whole time. I mean, it's kind of a blurple color. I don't know. They're kind of like right in. Oh wait. Yeah, kind of like that colorish. These guys are the purple. Anywho, that's beside the point. You get the idea. So, a blurple. Cool. Any other questions? Stuff? Anything? Ouroboros. Yep. Cool. Well, I think that's it for me. So probably call stream there, and then I think, yeah. I'll see you guys in the next, I mean, if not this weekend, then hopefully next week, Tuesday, Thursday, something like that. Figure out when it'll work. Yeah. Confidential chats. I know. Don't look at my my Tutus Tenebris over here. My deep section of secret stuff. You want to see it? Ready? There's nothing in there. It's empty. So I got some Libra Selecty stuff. Remember, I'm not going to click on this because I think there is some cool stuff in here that I don't want to spoil for the Sanctiarchs. So, anywho, I will see y'all in the Discord and around and whatever. And yeah, I want to make some more TikToks. I'll probably do a TikTok about this. I want to do some like devlog, I don't know what else to call them, development logs style TikToks of just like, you know, people that weren't here for the stream. Here's the TLDR, here's the catch up, here's some cool insights that would help you design your own stuff. Like, you know, just stuff that you should know, those who know. So I'll be doing that. Also, my TikTok randomly got like an extra 16,000 views on my Valenhold's what makes a good stronghold video, like randomly on like Tuesday of this week. It was just like way out there. I don't even know. And then it just died back down the next day. So no idea. I eat ancient artifacts. The twist never was inside of us all along. Yeah. What was your question, Viper? Was it the announcement? I don't think I'll do an announcement necessarily of role changes or anything like that. I'll probably just kind of do it, and then that'll kind of just be the new thing. But some stuff will change a little bit, and then because the original roles are still staying the same. Like mostly, the stuff that's most important is this: is what did you choose to come here for? And I think most people are going to just stick with that. I don't think most people are going to really care about what's happening here. This is more for the people, you know, who are extra involved. Yeah, and then yeah, Princess P, I would love to see that, because looking at all this sort of things, a task manager of sorts might be helpful for that. Because mine is currently just a mess in my reminders app. So, anywho, cool. Well, that'll be fun. Anywho, I'll see you guys around the Discord. Have fun. Bye.